All right. Welcome, everyone, to the latest and greatest podcast on a Friday, which is not true because there are plenty of great podcasts out there, especially on a Friday, like ACG's. And ACG is amazing and awesome, and his show's probably better than ours. But
But his
welcome.
podcast is called the best gaming
Yes, it
podcast in
is.
the world, isn't it?
Yes. So
Clues in the title.
welcome to an early edition of the Xbox 2 podcast. Blame Jeff Keighley for this one because early this week I realized, oh, wait a minute. Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest is on right during our show. We start at 2:00, like 2:15. He starts at 4, and I'm like, well, we can't be live during Summer Games Fest. So we thought about doing it Thursday, but we couldn't get it done. I had some things I needed to do. So we decided to move it an hour ahead, but we couldn't move it 2 hours ahead to have a regular 4-hour show because Jez was busy. So we're gonna talk to you up until probably 15 minutes before SGF and get out of here so everybody can watch. And I just realized that Jeff Keighley's show last year ran for 4 hours. And that's without giving out any awards. So we'll see how this all goes.
One.
So
it was a long one.
Yeah.
But I've got to work it. So
yeah,
I'm
you're working.
The live
yeah, because you're working
so that'll
it.
be fun.
You're working on Sunday. So welcome to the Xbox 2 podcast, episode 366, I believe, on this beautiful June 6th of the 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor19, the man with the million. And with me, we have Mr. Jez Cordon of Windows Central. Here as always. What's up, buddy?
Hello. Hey, man. Rocking and rolling, as always. Busy week. Summer Game Fest. You know where it goes. But it's nice to take a little break from the chaos, a corporate sanction break. So I can do this podcast with you. Thankfully,
corporate
some of my colleagues.
Sanction break. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Corporate sanction break. Corporate mandated break. Thanks to the corporation for allowing me this little break to talk to the Xbox 2 universe and your lovely self. So here we are, rocking out with some final showcase predictions, some recaps of the news of the week, and some other good stuff.
Yeah, there's actually been quite a bit of stuff that's went on this week.
Yeah.
But did anything exciting happen to you this past week, or has it just kind of just been same old, same old? Jez wakes up, Jez plays games, Jez writes articles, Jez goes to bed, rinse and repeat 6-7 days a week.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of cool things under embargo that I've discovered this week that I can't share because of the embargo, but all will be made public in the coming days. So there has been some exciting things, but I also, Rand, I've dived into a new rabbit hole this week.
Yeah.
I bought my first Warhammer 40k model kit.
Okay.
And minifigs and paints and lore book.
You're a nerd.
Yeah.
That's so nerdy. You say
Bro.
reading books is for nerds. You're about to paint some little miniatures and have make believe wars pretending and stuff.
Listen, bro.
You taking the title.
Listen, bro. Henry Cavill likes Warhammer 40k.
Yes, Henry Cavill.
It can't be that nerdy if Henry Cavill likes it, right?
I mean, Henry Cavill's a big nerd. He's a big nerd.
No, Henry Cavill is cool, man. He's super cool. He's Superman, for God's sake. He was Superman. He's still Superman in my heart, bro. He's still Superman in my heart. And face it, if Henry Cavill says it's cool, then it must be cool.
Yeah.
At least that's what I'm telling myself as I weep myself to sleep. But yeah, also just been working. Yeah, I haven't really played many games. Just been working. There's a lot of games I want to play, a lot of games I've installed and are looking at me like, please play me, but I can't because of work. Kind of ironic, isn't it? Working in game journalism and not having time to actually play anything. It's very, very interesting situation. But yeah, I've booked a vacation for the week after all this shenanigans. So I will catch up on many games.
A vacation that, is this like an actual vacation or a staycation? Because you know what
It's
happens when you actually go on
staycation.
vacation. When you actually
Yeah,
take a trip somewhere, stuff happens, Jez. Stuff really does happen.
That is true. Stuff happens when I have a proper vacation. But no, this is going to be a staycation. There won't be any disruptions to the podcast or anything like that. We're just going to take a week off to chill, play games, and chill a bit more. Maybe I'll do some live streaming. Who knows?
Oh, okay. Have you maybe decided if you wanted to check out Elden Ring Night Rain? You know, do some co-op?
I honestly don't know. Like, my friend group is so split on this game. I've got friends who love it, and I've got friends who hate it.
I mean, it's doing pretty well, right? I think they announced 2 million sales and then 3.5 million players, I believe, is the latest numbers. So it seems to be doing quite well.
Extremely well. It's doing extremely well. People who love it really love it and say it's really good. And like I've heard this take from both sides. Some people are like, oh, it's a bit like Monster Hunter with Elden Ring. It's great. And then someone else has said to me, it's a bit like Monster Hunter with Elden Ring. It sucks.
Well, considering you recently said that Monster Hunter Wilds is your most disappointed you've been in a game in forever.
Yeah, I was. But that's not because of like the system. It's like the everything around it, like the end game and the lack of difficulty and the lack of need to grind. The ecosystem of Monster Hunter Wilds was disrupted. The game itself was, fine, but I don't know. It's neither here nor there. Maybe I'll try Night Rain at some point, but there's loads of other games I want to play at the moment. There's Warhammer Dark Tide DLC coming out at the end of the month, so that's going to be my go-to multiplayer game. All my friends have got back into Darktide recently after Warhammer Skulls, their sort of big event. So probably going to be playing that, but we'll see. There's loads of stuff I want to play, and Cyberpunk is getting a final DLC apparently as well.
That's what they say. Maybe a 2.3 update.
2.3 update. So maybe we do another run of Cyberpunk.
I don't know what's included in it. Am I going to have to revisit Cyberpunk? I mean, it is my current game of the generation. Oh, I love that game so much.
Yeah, you should.
I know we talked about it last week about how that game's entered production. They have like 90 people working on it, but I think they also said don't really expect that for, for another 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I guess we'll lead off with this because it kind of started the week. The Witcher 4 had a tech demo, basically, is what it was.
Yeah,
but
tech demo.
You have like two schools of camp here, right? Because I watched it and I was like, yo, this looks fantastic, right? And then you have like the cynical aspect of it all, of trusting tech demos. Like when it was revealed to be a tech demo and not actually Witcher 4, right? Because they had to come out and say it's not actually gameplay from Witcher 4. It's just a tech demo slice. And in my mind, I'm like, well, usually it's like CD Projekt Red they're kind of notorious for this a little bit, right? Where they present you with something that's not really the final product. And we've seen tech demos before, or at least demos that really didn't capture what initially was presented, the infamous Watch Dogs original demo and things of that nature. So there was like a big kind of divide of people that were excited by what they saw, which is me, because I watched it. I'm like, man, if Witcher 4 is like this, that's fantastic. Plus, it was running running on the base PS5 at 60 frames per second and ray tracing. So people are like, holy crap, can it all do that? And it's like, well, when it comes out, it's probably not going to run at 60 FPS and ray tracing at the same time or what have you.
Yeah, it's like when you're doing a tech demo, all you have to show is like what's in front of the camera. But when you're making a proper full game, like especially like Witcher, which is basically like a sandbox kind of game, you have to not only render what's in front of the camera, you also have to tell the game what's behind the camera, which will obviously render when you face the camera in that direction. The whole point of that tech demo, it was showing off an Unreal Engine. Yes. It was to show like what Unreal Engine is potentially capable of. Not necessarily what's practical in a game when you have to consider file size and like other hardware considerations like compression and all that kind of stuff. So like I think people were mad at CD Projekt Red for this, but at the end of the day, this was a tech demo for Unreal Engine. It wasn't necessarily a tech demo for The Witcher 4. You know, um, it can't. You know, it's like that. That gives that Matrix tech demo that
Coalition made.
the Coalition made a little while ago. Like that demo looked great on camera, but when you actually played the demo for yourself, it was like 20 FPS. Xbox. It was like, yeah, it's great when it's running a RTX 5090 or something, but when it comes to like running on a proper system and having like the actual, the having to load in the ability to, have AI that isn't scripted and maybe more dynamic, all that kind of stuff creates these overheads, right? But I don't know. I don't think it's fair to blame CD Projekt Red for that because it was supposed to be a tech demo. But it doesn't make me any less excited for Witcher 4. I think it's still going to look fantastic. I think Cyberpunk 2 is going to be fantastic. I think CD Projekt Red have very firmly learned their lessons about delivering a finished product.
Yeah, I mean, you hope so. Time. You hope so.
I bloody well hope so, yeah, because they're probably like... I mean, they're probably my favorite developer.
Well, at least for The Witcher 4, they're more than likely it's not going to be cross-gen, right? I still... Witcher 4 is probably coming out at the end of this generation, right? I think people are pointing at like 2027 as potential, right? Which I think would be the end of this generation. So, part of it, it's like Cyberpunk had to work on an Xbox One and a PS4, and it clearly really wasn't. That wasn't like, it was just too far beyond what those systems were capable of. So if it's being made for this gen, with even like a next gen in mind, like, next gen's coming and those versions will be better. Plus, I'm sure it's going to run best on PC like most things do anyways. So I could see it being, I could see it being like, yeah, it'll probably have minimal issues. But I mean, it's a kind of a case study of how to turn something around really quickly, because their reputation was an all-time low when the whole Cyberpunk drama happened earlier this gen.
All you need is a big budget Netflix show with a legendary anime studio. That's all you need to turn your game
and then basically put all your developers to fix this one game, to fix your reputation, spend all your money on it, and just, now you got people talking about their Cyberpunk 2.0 moment for, like, when is Starfield going to get its Cyberpunk 2.0 moment? Or when is this game going to get its Cyberpunk 2.0 moment, right? It's kind of become the standard of like, an update or something that really changes the game in that regard. But of course, with the internet being the internet, people just can't be happy about something, even if it's like a healthy dose of skepticism. Like me, like I watched that, I'm like, that looks really cool. If it's anywhere close to that, or even a less, I'm like, man, Witcher 4 is going to be something else. And it still gives me time to actually finish Witcher 3, because I have like 80 hours into it, but I never actually beat it. So
I would start over at this point.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start completely over, but I got time. It's not like I need to do that right away. I'll do that when it gets closer to 2027 or whatever, whenever the Witcher 4 actually releases. But then there are people that are just like, there's perpetually angry people all the time on the internet. People that want to monetize your hatred or your anger so they can make themselves money, and nothing's ever good enough. So they just, they just trash everything. And I'm sure people like that, or have seen people like that. It's like, yeah, granted, we are watchful, right? Like, okay, CD Projekt Red, we there is a history of demos not living up to whatever, and it's like, we got our eye on you, especially you, because I remember that Witcher E3 2020, or was it 2015 initial demo that kind of didn't live up to what The Witcher 3 initially was when it came out. It's like, okay, you've sort of done this before, but there's a part of me that like wants to believe and hope, and is still maybe like, man, video games are still amazing, with other people out there telling you that the video game industry is dog shit and needs to be shut down, and AAA industry needs to fail, and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, well, I'd rather look at something with hopeful skepticism than just complete utter disdain for what I'm watching, you know?
Yeah, the people who sort of thrive on negativity and stuff like that, they've got like bigger problems in the gaming industry, I think. There's so much like good stuff out there to play. Like we've railed on, corporate schlock on this show plenty of times. And I've ranted about the Ubisoftification of AAA and that sort of bland corporateness that sort of emanates out of certain publishers, But there's still so much amazing stuff being done. Like look at Claire Obscure, and you don't have to look far to find amazing games that I've launched this year or like even last year. There's so much stuff in my backlog I want to play, so much stuff that's good. You haven't even finished The Witcher 3 yet. It's just, there's plenty of things to play, and it's sort of like the games that you do give your attention to and the games that you do celebrate, that's what will make AAA publishers change. Just, being mad at them all day and harassing them and shit, that's not going to make them change. But if you put your money where your mouth is and be like, oh, I'm going to play this indie game or this AA game, not only am I going to play, I'm going to talk about how great it is, There you go.
All right, well, let's do some housekeeping before we get into the show. The shorter show today, unfortunately, for everybody that enjoys the longer podcast to help your day go by, or the truckers out there on their lengthy drives listening to the Xbox 2 for 4 hours. That's not going to be the length of this show. We got about 2 hours before we need to get about 2 hours and 15 minutes before we need to get out of here before Jeff Keighley steals everything from us and takes it away. Otherwise, hey, we wouldn't even be starting for another half an hour at this point if it was a regular day. So if you guys could do us a huge favor, hit the like button, please. Share this out. Let everybody know that we are live an hour earlier than normal. And Jez, I believe this episode is brought to you by a certain shark, yeah?
It is indeed, Rand. This week's episode is once again brought to you by the fine folk over at Surfshark VPN.
There we go. They love the rar, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
what a shark sounds like.
That is a shark sound. We've got an amazing deal for you from Surfshark VPN. 100% log-free, RAM-based servers, 86% off for 2 years. That works out to around $2 a month. It's a really, really great deal. So here's the ad read from Surfshark. Looking for the ultimate way to safeguard your online experience? Surfshark VPN has got you covered. Whether you're streaming, gaming, or simply browsing the web, Surfshark ensures your privacy and security are top-notch. With its lightning-fast speeds and unlimited device connections, Surfshark is the perfect partner for all your digital adventures. Unlock a truly open internet with Surfshark's powerful features. Bypass geo-restrictions, access global content. Surfshark lets you enjoy the web without limits. Plus, its clean web feature lets you block ads, trackers, and malware all before they reach you. Alexa, shut up.
Uh-oh, you turned it on.
Unfortunately, my Amazon Echo was not blocked by Surfshark VPN. But anyways, its clean web feature blocks ads, trackers, and malware before they can reach you, giving you a faster, cleaner online experience. Your data is precious, and Surfshark VPN treats it that way. With a strict no-logs policy and RAM-based servers, you can trust that your browsing history stays private. Surfshark's robust encryption keeps your personal information safe and secure so you can surf the web with confidence. Don't miss this exclusive offer for Xbox 2 podcast listeners. Grab 86% off a 2-year plan and take control of your online freedom today. Hit the link in the description below to claim this incredible deal. Surf smarter, surf safer, surf with Surfshark. Rawr. Rawr. But yeah, Surfshark's awesome. It's literally a browser extension. You can also install it on a router. You can also install it straight on your Windows machine and cover your whole computer, or just cover like your web browser like I do. Once you've got it installed, you can set your geolocation to any country in the world where they've got servers and then get access to all that content. I typically use it when I'm traveling to access the WWE because WWE isn't available in all countries in like America, for example, on Netflix, but it is all available in the UK on Netflix, which is awesome and weird. Why does the UK get more WWE Netflix than America? That doesn't make any sense to me. But with Surfshark, you can have it as well. So yeah. And also, if you check the link out in the description, it supports the channel, which is a big help to us. And Surfshark is a genuinely good product. So thanks to them for supporting us, and thanks to you guys for checking them out.
Yeah, 86% off is quite the deal. So check out the link. It's in the comment section, pinned at the top, or the description. Links there. And eventually I'll put it in the comment section too. But yeah, appreciate anybody that checks the link out and decides they need to protect themselves online. But we also have the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Patreon members of Xbox 2, where you can sign up at patreon.com/XB2, ask some questions, get early access to podcasts, get some shout-outs, which we are about to do here because we got the Xbox 2 MVPs. We've got Ethan Linhares VA, Resin Force, iMike Zero, Tier, Shrapnel, Inner Machine, Just James 93, Holy Dark Death, Steve Stompy, 09C Mine, James Wiseau, Tricks Are for Trey, Laser Wolf, Battered Haddock, Army Dude 52C, Foreign Object, RS Donks, Silas, James Moore, Fantasticals, Katriox, Bright Tundra 1, Discarded Caboose, Justin Duel, Sean Kramer, PB Bro King, Ace and Madison, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Wagerman, Pat Rock, Scarcely Relevant, Adam Bartolo, Darren Tropy, Briggs Country, Prof. JJJ, and Wolfgang KPZ. Thank you guys for your continued support of myself and Jez. Means a lot. Jez, so apparently on Reddit's Gaming Leaks and Rumors, you have said, which I didn't even know you said this, but you said there's a final card game in the Xbox Showcase? What does that mean, bro? Apparently you said it during the Xbox 2 podcast, I guess?
I never said that, did I?
I don't know.
Final card game?
There's a, quote, final card game in the Xbox Showcase. What the hell does this mean?
I don't know what that means, but I didn't say anything like that. Maybe we speculated about it, but or whatever. But no, I didn't say that. Gaming Leaks and Rumors. What a wonderful subreddit that is. But no, I did not say that.
Yeah, but they listen though, because they constantly will post some of the stuff you say.
Usually when people post stuff I say, the comments are just like, "Oh, Jez is fake news, man. Fake news, bro." Will they remember that I leaked Kennen when that gets revealed imminently? Probably. I doubt it. But yeah, I don't know. I never said that, so I have literally no idea what they're talking about.
It's funny because this like post is from literally like 33 minutes ago, and it's 1:34 and it was posted 1:33. We weren't even live then. Like,
that's funny as fuck.
I don't know if somebody just made it up or something, or is listening to last week's episode, but I can't ever recall you saying something about there being a final card game.
I don't know what that means.
Because someone DM'd me this, is like, what does this mean? I'm like, I don't fucking know what Jez is talking. Like, I've never heard this before. He's like, bullshit, you know. I'm like, no, I don't. I have no idea what this is.
Just tell him that it was never said.
Yeah. But, I mean, considering it was posted before we were even live today, it certainly didn't come from today's podcast. And I don't think you said anything on Twitter, so I have no idea what a final card game could be. A final card. Yes. I don't know. Card. Sounds like somebody's making up bullshit.
Maybe it's a bot.
But yeah,
I find that a lot of the posts on Reddit are just AI these days.
Yeah, AI everywhere, AI doing stuff. I have no idea. It's just I did see some posts where it was like, with AI eventually taking over in the future, that maybe it actually brings back like face-to-face business or human connection. If everything online is just completely just fake, where it's like fake AI videos with fake AI bots tweeting each other and stuff, that it kind of leads to more business and more things being done face-to-face than that way, which is an interesting concept to think about. Like, oh, maybe AI gets everybody off their screens and back to, the
real
normal
life.
way people used to connect. But I'm just like, I don't know about that. I think people are too addicted to their phones. Even if everything on the internet in 5 years will be like, is this actually true? You know, you got the bros out there being like, Grok, is this true, Grok? Every single time something says something, they're just having to ask AI if it's actually true or not. And the funny thing, sometimes you look at those responses and the AI is completely wrong. You know? Like, Grok, what movie is this? And they get it completely wrong. And it's like, why would you? I don't know. Yeah. I fear for the future sometimes of the human species. You know, it's like, oh boy, what's it going to be like in 5-10 years? I don't know.
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I think at the end of the day, people just want laziness and convenience. I don't think people opt for accurate information if it's easier information. I mean, TikTok is pretty evident of that. I read somewhere recently that like I can't remember the exact figure, but it was like a significant figure, something like 75% or something like that of all the mental health information being shared on TikTok is incorrect or something like that. There's some ridiculous number. It's just like, yeah, no shit. Oh man, but what can you do? At least on the Xbox 2 podcast, we strive for accuracy with the information that we're sharing, and anything that is speculation is generally clearly marked. And we'll do what we can to maintain that editorial quality over here on the completely AI-free Xbox 2 podcast.
Yeah, right. Completely
Brought to you by Surfshark VPN. Man. Maybe Surfshark could add like, I don't know, an AI blocker to their app or something. That'd be cool. I'd pay for that.
Let me get to a couple super chats here. We got John B, who says, Rand bought a Switch 2 and is loving it. Yeah, the Switch 2 is out. What did it come out? Thursday night, I believe. I think it was. People are enjoying it. I did not purchase a Nintendo Switch, and not once did I get any FOMO and actually sit on a website and debate with myself about whether or not I should get one. And it's really for a simple reason. There's nothing I want on the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo doesn't really make any games that interest me. I shouldn't say that. They sometimes they do. Like Metroid Prime 4 is a game that does interest me. The problem I have is it's a lot of money just to play one game, and I don't even know if like there'll be other games eventually down the road. So you're essentially saying I need to buy a $450 system plus a Pro Controller plus the game just for one thing. And to me, it's like I don't know. I don't want to do that. But
I'm pretty much in the same boat.
I do.
One get like Metroid is all I want on Switch. It's not enough to justify buying it.
But I'm not a hater in any sense of the word. So I know how it is to love something and to share that joy with, people across the internet or the world, your friends. When you get something and you're just really enjoying yourself and you tweet about it and stuff. And my whole timeline when I get online is about the Switch 2. And I'm happy for all y'all. If you got the Switch 2 and you're loving it, I'm loving that you're loving it, honestly. Because we all have different things that we like and enjoy. Not everybody's always going to like the same things. But I'm never going to take away the fact that, or degrade or put down somebody else because they like something that I don't. And you shouldn't really take my opinion into account anyways if you're enjoying it. So I'm happy you're loving your Switch 2, and I hope it gives you years and years of joy and you get some great gaming experiences out of it, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And even though it's a platform that really isn't for me, I know it's a platform that millions will enjoy, and I hope you do. So,
that's very wholesome of you.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, video games at the end of the day, like we all love them. That's why we're here. We're not all gonna love the same ones, and you never see me jump into somebody else's thread or talk about a game that they liked or I didn't, because I let people enjoy the things that they want. Now, if you ask my opinion about that, I'll tell you if I don't like it, like I would with the Nintendo Switch, where it's like there's nothing for me, and that's fine. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to buy the thing, but I'm happy for you if you find joy in that, Just like, if you ask me about books or the type of stuff I like, I'll tell you what I like. And you may be someone who doesn't like those things and you like a different type of genre or whatever. That's great. We're both reading. We're both getting plenty of amazing hours of enjoyment out of it. And that's what really should matter. Sometimes, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm just too naive when it comes to that stuff, but
I mean, no, you're not naive. That's the logical, reasonable take. Pretty much. I mean, I'm perfectly happy to joke about Nintendo and criticize them for the things they do that are shit. I think they've completely, I think they abuse their fan base. I think they are really heavy-handed with.
I mean, you could talk about the business
people.
aspects of it, but some people aren't just going to care. Like, some people are just going to I get to play my Mario Kart, I get to play this game and that game and all these other things, and they're not going to care or worry about, well, the game's $10 more expensive or whatever business realities are or game chat or whatever. That to them, it doesn't even matter. So,
well, that's my point. Is like, it's not like Xbox isn't above doing shit like that, or Steam, or any platform really. It's just that people take it personally when you criticize their favorite company or platform or whatever, and they interpret that as you being a hater, especially if your job is to analyze some of this shit.
Sure.
Like some people, just take all that shit way too personally. But yeah, it's been awesome to see the people who are happy to get it. Although I've seen plenty of criticism for it. I think Jeff Grubb described it as a Nintendo Switch Pro rather than Nintendo Switch 2, which, could be taken as a criticism or maybe not a criticism if you want to take it the other way. I think calling it Nintendo Switch Pro infers to me that, it plays all the games that it played previously, right? But it doesn't exactly do anything particularly revolutionary in terms of what Nintendo is expected to do with its sequels. Whereas PlayStation and Xbox have been making iterative systems for God knows how long now. But I don't know. I think that's just the reality of technology not advancing as rapidly as it did in the late 90s, early 2000s. When we leapt from 2D to 3D, it felt like a revolution, but now we get these sort of iterative things where it's like, oh, an extra 2 hours of battery life is now the huge thing, right? But
true. Very true.
But yeah, the Nintendo Switch launched.
Did you see those reports of the GameStop the GameStop stapler ruined a bunch of switches and stuff?
Oh man,
they stapled into the screen.
I've gotten devices sometimes where the box is thin and the screen's facing up, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, they haven't protected this very well. Luckily, I haven't had a screen punctured yet, but that is just, a so unfortunate oversight, I guess, which either GameStop or Nintendo will have to rectify.
Yeah, and apparently you didn't have to pre-order it to get one. I guess there's plenty of units available at a lot of different Best Buys or Targets, Walmarts. You could just walk in, pick one up if you wanted to, which is great because there are people waiting last minute. Although I did see people that were like, I'm not getting a Nintendo Switch 2. Screw this greedy company that all got it day one. And it's like, sometimes you just can't trust certain YouTubers because at the end of the day, for them, it's all about revenue. And it's all about controversy. So they'll say controversial things to get you angry and to get you to click so they can make ad revenue. And they'll say, oh, you shouldn't get this. And then they'll get it themselves. I
love it.
It's it is what it is. You just got to recognize it when you see it, right? So, but yeah, the Switch love is pretty. So I want everybody to love their Switch 2 if you got it, except for Donataku. Hopefully, he has the worst experience with the Switch 2 imaginable.
Oh, that's kind of
everybody
mean.
Else. I'm glad you have it. Glad you love it. We're just gonna point out Donataku. We'll point him out. Hopefully, or Special Nick.
Oh yeah, I hope Special Nick suffers.
Yeah, of course. So there's that. We have Peter, who says, "Evening, chaps. No question for me. Just wanted to say thanks for the many hours of entertainment over the years. Here's to a great weekend of gaming news." Thank you, Peter. Should be a good weekend. We got Summer Games Fest in a couple hours with Jeff Keighley. What do you think? You got any predictions for Keighley's show? You got anything you thinking that might be there? I mean, there's probably stuff that you already maybe have under embargo that you can't really talk about or whatever, but
there is a couple of things that I've got under embargo that I can't talk about. That is like a couple of things I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that so soon, kind of thing. But nothing I would describe as massive, maybe. Under embargo, that is. Now, as far as predictions, like Jeff Keighley has, I would say, raised the profile of Summer Game Fest quite a lot over the last few years. I went there myself for the first time last year. I'm not there this year, obviously, but like I was very impressed with the spread they put on. It was in the strangest venue. It was like a group of warehouses, kind of, that had sort of had posters stuck on them. It's like it must have been very affordable, I imagine. But the effort that had gone into actually setting that place up with workstations and facilities for press and creators and anyone else who was able to attend, I thought they did a very good job. This isn't like the ESA who've got like mountains of money to pour into this stuff. It still felt like a very grassroots kind of thing in a way, which I thought was cool. But he's been raising the profile of it, and obviously publishers want to get involved with Jeff because of, potential showcase at the Game Awards, which is like a really nice marketing bump in the winter. So maybe we could see some big third party publisher reveals at this event. I've seen people, hope for things like, Persona 4 Remake, which is rumored to be the Xbox show right now, and which I can tentatively corroborate with our sources, although I'm not 100%. But MP First put out that first report about that, and I think it's accurate.
Oh yeah,
and
Persona
also there's
4, Persona 4. Yeah, I'm
Persona
pretty
4.
sure you can expect to see that at the Xbox show.
Yeah, me too. But another thing that I saw that was out there, people were hoping maybe Resident Evil 9 could be there, and there's some people in chat
Resident
saying
Evil
that
9 seems to be.
Yeah.
I'll say that's probably the big get that Keighley has this year. I think it's Resident Evil 9. I don't expect to see that at the Xbox show. Capcom's recently, well, not even recently, but it seems for quite a few years now that their majority of their sales come from PC. And you could see them maybe trying to move away from certain marketing deals, because normally Resident Evil is at a PlayStation show as Resident Evil, like, the marketing. And we'll talk about the state of play, and Capcom did have something there, but it wasn't Resident Evil 9. So I'm expecting Resident Evil 9 to show up here. I'm very, very curious to see where they go, because they sort of ended the story beats that they were telling between 7 and 8. God, I don't even remember them. I know my memory's failing me, because I forget who the main character was of 7 and 8 at this point. Ethan? Was it Ethan? I forget.
Ethan, yeah. No, was it? I think wasn't it Ethan? I can't remember myself now.
I don't know, but either way, there was the same main character.
Wasn't his name?
Yeah, the same main character was in 7 and 8, but I think that story's concluded. So 9, does 9 see the return of Leon? Does 9 see the return of like Chris or some notable old Resident Evil staple? I mean, there's rumors that it's open world-ish, which is not something I want, honestly. But
maybe they make it work.
We'll see what it's like. I'm still glad that Resident Evil and Capcom, they'll give us the new entries in the series while also still providing the remakes, because the remakes have been fantastic, and I thought 7 and 8 were both amazing games. So I'm like, all right, like, let's do 9. And then let's do, I don't know, Code Veronica remake, or Resident Evil, what do you do that? 0 remake, I guess. I don't know. A Resident Evil remake.
Remake 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Resident Evil 0 or something. I'm all down for that.
Yeah, me too, to be honest.
The thing is with Summer Games Fest is it's just not on the level of the Game Awards. The reveals and everything like that.
Or the Xbox show.
Yeah, and even Jeff does 3 shows. He does the Gamescom show, he does Summer Games Fest, and he does the Game Awards. and like where I put them in the hierarchy of like Game Awards way up here, Summer Games Fest below that, and then the Gamescom one. I think that's what I forget the name of that OTR or whatever it's called. That one is even beneath that. So, I will say he's taken over. He basically kind of, like E3 was dominated by the ESA and their stuff, and as soon as they sort of faltered, Jeff was right there to fill a void.
He was,
and boy, now everything, every event that's in the vicinity of Summer Games Fest is a part of Summer Games Fest, and I don't know how Jeff pulled that off. Like, oh, Xbox, they're on Sunday, they're part of Summer Games Fest. It's like, yeah, but are they really? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, but kudos to Jeff for getting it done. He pulled it off. So
he did. At the end of the day, it's more games to check out, right? But last year, like you said, it was very long.
Yes.
I think it's probably going to be. I don't hate that it's long from a gamer kind of perspective, because I like to know all the games that are coming out. I'm not a super fan of it being long as an employee future, because it's like, oh great, now I've got to work for 4 hours until 1 a.m. or wherever it's going to be. But a lot of people said last year that it was too long, and there was a lot of filler and ads and trailers and things that weren't necessarily gaming related, which I can appreciate. But I suppose that's how it's paid for, right, with the sponsors and things like that. But maybe there'll be some really cool things there. I'm expecting probably new trailers for games we know about, a DLC for games we know about, stuff like that, maybe. And then you've got like, maybe the unknowns, like a Resident Evil 9 or something like that. Let's see how it goes. Looking forward to it. And it's going to be on right after this podcast ends, if we get to the end of the podcast in 2.5 hours, which we need to work quite hard to actually make that.
I mean, we'll do it even if we don't hit some segments. We'll just have because we're probably going to be on early on Monday too.
Yeah,
an hour earlier than normal, because I got to do a podcast at 5. So we're going to do an earlier show on Monday, like an hour early, like today, and still do the 4-hour stuff, because we're going to have a lot to talk about Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Showcase and all those sort of things. So we already talked about the Witcher 4 stuff. Very excited to see how that comes across. Although skeptical, a little bit of healthy skepticism, be like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah.
People Can Fly. I don't know, Jez, if you saw this. They canceled 2 projects, unfortunately.
They did.
They still have a project with Xbox, which is Gears Z-Day, and then something with PlayStation. Seems to be the way the industry is going. Apparently, the one project was with Square Enix, and another one was a self-funded VR game, which VR in 2025, does anybody want it? Does anybody care anymore? Doubtful.
I don't think so. Outriders 2. Do you think it was Outriders 2?
I mean, it probably was. So, unfortunately,
Outriders 2 basically cancelled.
We'll see what they do with Xbox. I'm kind of like, oh man, did they really? Is it really whatever they're working on Xbox just support for Gears? Maybe they're making the multiplayer. I mean, it's like kind of like, whatever. We do got another super chat here. We got Frosty, who says, Xbox probably estimated the handheld would be too costly for the niche market it serves. Potentially a problem for devs to prioritize for next gen.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more in a bit.
I mean, you could talk about it now if you want, because I don't really think it had anything to do with cost. I think it was more to do with, oh shit, SteamOS is kicking our ass. Maybe we need to focus on making Windows 11 better for gaming rather than the cost of a handheld in 2 years. Especially when you also are letting OEMs make stuff.
Yeah, it's going to have been a combination of like, yeah, we've got finite resources, but we've got 2 products we're trying to potentially push here, and if our hardware teams are working hard on, making Canon the best it can be, then maybe we should put more bodies and more engineering on this device, at least in the interim. And the thing is, I think in reality, their work on Canon will inform whatever they do with the we don't really know the code name for right now. The code name I had was Pembroke, but apparently that's not correct. But whatever it is, whatever the code name is, apparently it's been sidelined. But it's all the same teams essentially, because this was going to be a Windows kind of device. But any work they do on Canon will also benefit that handheld in the future as well. And I suppose, like, when it comes to licensing issues, getting the Xbox licenses on that system, I don't know exactly what the terms of a licensing deal means in terms of, like, what do we need to do from a licensing perspective to get Xbox games running on this thing? Is there, like, specific, you know, is it like just all they need is the Xbox brand? What is it that they need in order for Xbox games to run this thing, right? I don't know the answer to that question, and only Microsoft and his publishing partners know the answers to that question. But presumably, that can be solved without engineers. That's more a legal team kind of thing, right? And maybe they can work towards that in the interim. I want to be optimistic and say that we will get an Xbox handheld that can actually run Xbox Series S kind of level games in the future, but I'm not going to hold my breath until it's in my hand.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my interest in handhelds is pretty low, but I mean, maybe that changes in the future. We got William who says, if Xbox merges with PC, what happens to physical libraries? Also, did Sony use Latitude money to money hat Wukong since it was reaffirmed for Xbox December 2023?
I want to talk about Wukong now. It's one of the topics.
Yeah. We might as well. We might as well talk about Wukong, but we'll tackle this first thing. If Xbox merges with PC, what happens to physical libraries? I mean, I guess that's a good question. If you had all these physical games, you know,
I think like that is like.
There's even the question of whether or not Xbox's next console will have a disk drive.
I think that is really the answer. It's like we kind of, with Xbox, it's kind of moving towards a situation where what happens to your physical discs from your PC collection when Steam started beginning its rise, right? I think like you'll just have to try and keep if you want to play your old games, you probably just have to try and keep your old console as long as possible. Because I can't see a universe where they make a disk drive that's compatible with PC. I don't know if they'd even have the licenses in order to do that. But this was the situation back in the day. It was like your SNES games didn't run on the N64, your N64 games didn't run on the GameCube. You know, that was kind of the downfall of physical, and the benefit of digital is that they are potentially gonna last generation over generation more reliably than a disc or a physical medium might. But at the same time, there's obviously drawbacks to that as well. You can't resell them. You don't have the physical disc. Just collecting discs is just fun, you know. I would like to do that as well, but there's just too many benefits to digital for me to choose otherwise. I would personally hope that Microsoft does make a licensed disk drive that works over USB and has the necessary security or whatever to, you know, keep it from being hacked or whatever would prevent them from considering doing that. But I don't know if USB is necessarily secure for that, or I don't know if a device of that nature is secure by its very nature, you know. So I'm not optimistic that there'll be anything.
I mean, it seems like I don't know how that stuff will work. He brings up an interesting question about like, well, if the next gen is like them combining stuff, what does that do for my physical stuff? And my first thought is like, will they even have a disk drive? Because we know that basically most of Xbox's games are all digital at this point. I don't know the exact number, but it was something like 90%. People send me pictures all the time of their store shelves at Walmarts or whatever that don't even really carry Xbox games anymore, physical games. And so when you think about like the next console, does that even have a disk drive? Or do they do what Sony's doing with, they make an add-on where it's like the system just doesn't come with the disk drive, but if you want one, you can buy it for $100 or something. That might be sort of where the future ends, but yeah, like, I don't know. They have a lot to explain whenever they do start to explain that, because people are going to be like, you've been the leaders of backwards compatibility, and you're the ones that let us take our discs and put them in there and play the games at work. And if now suddenly we can't do that because either A, there's no disk drive, or B, the discs no longer are validated because, you know, for whatever reason, I feel like they'll make it work somehow. So I feel like there'll be the solution will be you can buy a disk drive add-on, and then if you have the disk, it'll still run it.
Maybe
that'll be what I think happens. At least what I hope happens, because man, if they get rid of that, there's no disk drive, and like people's physical libraries essentially are just dead. I mean, a lot of angry people. As far as the Black Myth Wukong stuff, let's talk about it. Like short show, so we're gotta talk about things fast here.
Gotta get through quick.
Out of nowhere last night, and it was interesting. It was a late night announcement. Not even during the day. It was like 9 p.m. my time. Xbox just put it out there. Hey, Black Myth Wukong's coming to Xbox, and the devs had like a blog post celebrating like, hey, there's going to be some sales, and it's coming on August 20th, which is so coincidentally is the 1-year anniversary of when the game released on PS5 and PC. So there's a lot of baggage when it comes to this game when talking about it, because it was literally this time last year where it showed up at Keighley's show, I think, and it didn't have the Xbox logo. And people were wondering, why doesn't it have the Xbox logo? Because it was originally announced with the Xbox logo, and it wasn't a situation like Stellar Blade, which was announced as Project Eve, and it was announced for Xbox and PlayStation and PC, and then Sony took over publishing, and then suddenly Stellar Blade's not coming to Xbox anymore. This was, hey, PlayStation's not publishing the game, but it's not coming to Xbox. What's the reasoning for it? And I believe they came out and said that their reasoning was like the Xbox versions weren't up to their quality of standards, and that they weren't going to release them alongside the PS5 and PC version, and they were sorry about that. And then came the reports from people like Jess Corden over at Windows Central, and Paul Tassi over at Forbes, and Kate Bailey over at IGN that talked about there being some sort of deal between Black Myth Wukong and Sony, because Microsoft seemed very aggressive in their articles about it, their responses, about basically saying that they can't talk about deals with other publishers or whatever. And it became this big, huge topic that everybody had to chime in on. Either people believed that there was a secret Sony deal, or people didn't. And it was just, it was the Potato Series S. The devs had come out and said they would need years to figure it out on the Series S, and all these sort of things. And then miraculously, last night, it's coming to Xbox, and it just so happens to coincide with the 1-year anniversary, which is also usually happens to be the de facto exclusivity deal that is made by companies. People will point out that the date's not odd, because they always do something on the 5th, on that date, and they have for the last 5 years, and this is the Monkey King's birthday, and all those sort of things.
Or something like that.
I put out a tweet last night, and I don't normally tweet anymore. And man, did I make some people angry.
I saw that tweet. I retweeted that tweet.
And people were like, you stop hating on PlayStation. I'm like, where I was hating on PlayStation? I think, in fact, when we originally talked about this, I said how smart of a business move this was of PlayStation to actually do it. If it was true, how smart of a business move it was. Because it clearly turned out to be, considering how successful that game was. So people are like, you're fighting the console war. I'm like, I'm not fighting no imaginary console war. This shit's over. I'm just like, it's like, hell, man, what's going on here? Is it a coincidence?
A coinky-dink.
What do you think, Jez? Is your reporting validated? Or is
my reporting needs no validation, Rand. My reporting speaks for itself, darling.
Yes.
But essentially, I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I've got a theory, right?
Okay.
And here's my theory. And I'm going to piggyback on Big Afro Man's super chat here. With every journalist saying there was a money hat for Wukong, Colin Moriarty recently tweeting and doubling down saying there wasn't a deal, could the truth be somewhere in the middle? I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. And here's what I think happened, right? I know for a fact that Game Science told Microsoft there was a deal in place, and that's why they weren't bringing it to the system, right? Here's what I think might have happened. I think they might have come to optimize the game for the Series S and realized it wasn't going to be anywhere near good enough for launch. They probably thought, oh shit, we're going to have some kind of cyberpunk situation on our hands where half Xbox players, or whatever the percentage is, I think it's more than half of Xbox players are on the Series S, but I don't think we have a full breakdown of that. But anyway, a significant percentage of Xbox players are going to have this subpar experience. So they were like, let's take a deal, not for marketing, and this is what I was told, a sort of engineering support kind of deal, where we don't get any promotion out of this deal, but we do get some kind of engineering support on PlayStation to get that version of the game super optimized, because we know that we're not going to be able to deliver an experience that's on our quality standard for the Xbox Series S. So I think it lies somewhere in the middle, because if you remember, Wukong at launch did not run particularly great on PC, didn't run particularly great on PS5 either. It's only after like so many months of optimizations that it's become a smooth sailing kind of experience, right? So I think they just chose, they wanted to make it optimized on PS5 as much as humanly possible. They wanted to make it optimized on PC as much as humanly possible. And the Series S was the lowest priority system with the smallest install base. And they went with the exclusivity deal. That's what I think happened. So I think it's probably true that the Series S forced their hand, but I also think it's true that they had an exclusivity deal in place. That's personally what I think, based on all my research and all the conversations I've had about this with people who know exactly what's going on here. And the fact that Phil Spencer also said last year, I know exactly when Wukong is launching on Xbox, in an interview with GameFile, Stephen Totillo, I think that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. He knew the game was going to target a year-long exclusivity period. But this is the thing about this whole situation. All it would take for game science to clear the air is for them to say there was no exclusivity deal in place. They have never done that. They have never, ever decided to do that.
I mean, I think I've seen some people say that
why wouldn't they?
That they have said that, although if they have,
they haven't.
Okay, I don't know.
They have never said specifically that there's no exclusivity deal in place. They've inferred it by saying like, oh yeah, we delayed because of the Xbox Series S. So like there's been this inference, but there has hardly been an outright denial that there was an exclusivity deal in place. You know? And at the end of the day, who cares? You know, it's not like Sony's done this before. They've done it a million times before. They've done it with Stellar Blade, like you said. They've done it with Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 16, which we should get an answer about this Sunday, I think. And you know, they've done it with loads of other games. It's Sony's MO. You know, I think it was just this felt particularly spiteful because it was a very hyped game, and it was also very, very heavily announced for Xbox beforehand. You know, so it felt almost like a kind of betrayal scenario. And I think that's why they don't want to just come out and say, yeah, we took a deal, because they're probably cognizant of the fact that it will be seen as a betrayal. But I think by creating all this controversy just speaks to the studio's inexperience, and they are a brand new studio. And I think it just is what it is. It's just business at the end of the day. So kudos to Sony for landing the deal on a mega blockbuster game from last year. And for Xbox fans who were waiting patiently, you know, for it, congrats to them who are finally going to be able to play.
You thought at one point it was never going to come to Xbox. We had that discussion a couple months ago, and you're like, nah, it's never going to come at this point. And then a year later, here it is. So
yeah, I mean, part of me was wondering, like, if the reason I said that was because I was wondering if there was going to be some kind of fallout from the way they threw the Series S under the bus to justify this whole delay. And like, if I'm a Microsoft, I'm probably thinking like, well, fuck those guys. But then again, I'm not a businessman. I'm a podcaster. So at the end of the day, Microsoft's just like, you know, we want to get this game to our fans. We want to make the money on it, you know, like business, like mature business people. I'm not like an immature, you know, podcaster dude. So I don't know, but it's coming now. So It is what it is. Let us know in chat if you're going to play it. Maybe you should throw a poll up, Rand. I'll throw a poll up on the Spotify as well.
Because my chat, the ability to actually talk is...
Refresh.
I did, and it's not there. So I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't know what's up.
It's so dumb moderators can't post polls. This is one reason why people stream on Twitch. Like, the features are just so much more mature, and they've got way more features for stuff like this, but...
Yeah.
Oh, well. Sometimes, like, my chat freezes as well, and I just hit refresh and it fixes it. But
I'll be checking it out in August. I mean, I sort of always thought it would come anyways. Although they must iron out that Series S stuff real fast.
Yeah.
They said that stuff would have taken years. Got it done in less than a year.
Exactly 1 year.
Got it done in exactly 1 year.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah,
not bad,
on the Monkey King's birthday, nonetheless.
Yeah.
So, it's
I'll check it out.
It's funny though. It's funny. People getting their feels about all that stuff, and I just wanted a funny tweet because it's like,
I get it though, because Phil said very famously that Sony money hats games based on the money that Microsoft sends them.
Yeah, I know.
And now Microsoft's sending them more money than ever. So does that mean more money hats than ever? So I understand
speaking about that.
It's still Microsoft's fault at the end of the day, because Microsoft knows what Sony does, and what they're the ones sending them the money by Phil's own admission. So like, at the end of the day, every game that misses Xbox, I would still put that at Xbox's feet to solve. But Xbox has, landed some exclusivity deals of their own, whether it's via Game Pass or whether it's with developmental deals like Stalker 2 or the upcoming Space Marine remake, which, has a lot of hype around it right now with, whether you're a Warhammer 40k fan or just a Space Marine fan in general. You can play it you can play a backwards compatible version on PS5, I think. But you can't the proper sort of upscaled version. That's going to be exclusive at least for a little while to Xbox. So not like Microsoft hasn't been trying to cut these deals as well, and maybe we'll see more of them. Maybe we'll even see some this weekend.
Maybe. You mentioned that about Xbox and PlayStation and Xbox making money. There's this new analytic firm that people really are using a lot, and they've given a lot of information. Linea Analytics. I think I sent you some of their stuff, some of their graphs,
yeah, I know
some of the things they're saying about certain things. I mean, they showed how Forza Horizon 5 is selling more than what was it, Assassin's Creed on PlayStation platform. They got actual sales figures for there, and the recent one that people are talking about is how on the top 10 sales on PlayStation 5, the Xbox games sell 44%. 44% of the top 10 game sales on PlayStation are Xbox games. And I was like, I always question, are these numbers true? How do they actually have the numbers? Because Forza Horizon 5 selling a lot, it was Minecraft selling a lot, Oblivion, Doom and stuff, and I was like, geez. And then even with Forza Horizon 5, I'm sure you also saw the comment by one of the former Playground guys, Gavin, I believe, said that Forza Horizon 5 made more revenue than anybody, everyone, made more revenue than Gran Turismo and The Crew and all these other racing games.
He said he made more revenue than the next 4 combined.
Yeah, the next 4 games combined, and he said that was before it even came to PlayStation. And now supposedly it's, maybe sold 2 million copies on PlayStation. It hasn't even come to the Switch 2 yet, which I suspect it will at some point. What do you think about that? What do you think about analytics and the sort of headlines they make, and Forza Horizon 5 being as cash flush as it is, just decimating all the online racers that aren't Mario Kart, I guess? Because it's Mario Kart and it's Forza Horizon 5, and it's everything else is just beneath it. And I've always said that Forza Horizon 5 is the pinnacle of the racing genre. Everything else is clearly a step below in almost every way.
Like
So
I don't know whether or not a lot of these firms are super accurate. I've heard it both ways. I've heard from people in the know, like when they've reported on certain games, for example, I've gone to people who work on those games and been like, "Are these numbers accurate?" And they're like, "Nah." So because obviously the game devs themselves will have more accurate numbers, but they often don't want to share the accurate numbers for whatever reason. It's because of the shareholders, right? They're when they're talking to shareholders, there's like stuff there's always a weird sort of middle ground when they're sort of discussing things that can affect the share price. There's like loads of rules about what you can and can't talk about, right? Each company sets their own rules, and it's the same in my company. Like I'm working in a corporation. I've learned so much about how corporations operate, which I was completely naive about back when we were independent, right? So, um, but I do think they are useful to give you a general idea about certain things because I don't know what their methodology is, and obviously the analytics firms aren't going to share the methodology publicly either, which is another can of worms. But because they don't want other analytics firms to rip them off or something like that, I suppose. But you know, um, I think it's still useful for identifying trends in the industry because whatever analytics they're using, I mean, they're not just whatever analytics methods they're using, they're not just pulling the numbers out their arse, or at least I presume they're not. I hope they're not. Um, so I think they're useful for identifying trends, and I wouldn't be surprised if like plenty of them are accurate.
yeah.
Obviously, Sakana has been doing it for a very long time. They used to be called MPD. It's the industry standard, and so I know Sony and Microsoft both subscribe to Sakana specifically for getting their data because they're confident in it, right? Now, what some of these other firms like Alinea, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think they're pretty new on the block. But then you've also got sort of companies like Newzoo, and there's also Ampere and Analytics as well. I don't know how accurate and how trusted their data is, but um, yeah, I think there is some validity to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not too shocked that Forza Horizon basically like revenue wise is outdone like all its competitors combined. Even when you throw in, I guess when you said Gran Turismo, I was like, really? Because remember, Gran Turismo was the king at one point. At one point, maybe it still is. It was big. It was Sony's biggest franchise. I mean, I don't know if
Quite dry, isn't it though?
I mean, they don't release
Isn't
as
it?
often anymore and stuff. And Forza does, but it's just specifically talking about Forza Horizon 5, and I'm like, holy crap. I mean, considering Forza Horizon 5 was also on Game Pass on day one, on both PC and Xbox, so you figure like some of the revenue would have been decreased because people would have played it for free, or are they counting the revenue they would get from those things as part of that revenue? I don't know, but it's amazing how big considering Forza Horizon was a spin-off, right? It wasn't the main franchise. It was Motorsport.
Mm.
And Forza Horizon was just a spin-off game. And now not only has it overshadowed the main franchise to the point where I don't even know if they ever make another Forza Motorsport because who needs it? But it's
and
the biggest racing game out
uh,
there. I mean, outside of like Mario Kart, which I don't even really think is a similar racing game. Like Mario Kart is still very much arcadey, but you can definitely see all the racing games out there have all sort of taken cues from Forza Horizon being open world racers, and even Mario Kart's now an open world racer, or open world ish where you can do things in them. But like the Crew Motorfest when it came out, was it 2 years ago, a year ago? I was like, this is basically Forza Horizon Light. Like all these companies, it's what the industry is. It's a copycat industry. If something works, everybody else is going to copy it. It's kind of what it always has been. Like, oh, that thing worked for you. Well, I'll try to copy it. Maybe make some money too. And that's what it was.
Unless it's a Nintendo game, because if you try and copy their shit, they'll sue your ass.
Yeah, unfortunately, as the Pal World devs are finding out. But I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not too
they
shocked
can
if
copy everyone else's game, but
I'm not too
heaven forbid
shocked that
yours.
Xbox would take up a large part of the top 10 sales, considering the type of games they have. And April and May were sort of heavy months for them because they released Forza Horizon and Oblivion and Indiana
They are the
Jones
service
and
stars.
Doom, and they got Minecraft and they got Call of Duty. They have all these like big franchises that are everywhere. So I'm not really surprised at those numbers. I guess maybe I was kind of
Mm.
surprised at how low I felt like Doom was on PlayStation. So they had it some like 270,000 copies, and I just sort of wonder if Doom was just a victim of they just released too many games at a time. And
Yeah,
Expedition
fatigue.
33 was like a huge release, or people knew of Expedition 33, but it sort of felt like Expedition 33 blew up to sort of like Doom's detriment a bit because it came out afterwards and it was also cheaper.
Yeah.
Or like we put out Forza Horizon 5 the month before and everybody decided to buy that and didn't have money left over for Doom in any way. I don't know. I'm sure they're
Mm.
probably doing post-mortem stuff about maybe, and we question that. I'm like, why are you releasing so many games in a short time span? There's only so much money to go
Mm.
around and so many people willing to spend money on that stuff. But I guess there's always like, oh well, it's a price cuts come eventually, and somebody could purchase Doom for $50 or what have you. So, yeah, I wanted to briefly mention that we got Sith Lord who's been a member for 28 months. Says Rand needed to start the podcast earlier so he can get back to playing the Switch 2 with his BFF Nick. It's Cow and Mario Kart or nothing. Yeah, no, definitely no, not playing any Mario Kart. And if I did, I definitely wouldn't play it with Nick.
Poor Nick.
Yeah. Daniel says in the super chat, it doesn't help that the Xbox app used to be ran by the Windows team. Is that true, Jez?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's even worse than that. Half of it was, and half of it wasn't. So half of it was run by the Windows team, and then half of it was run by another team, and then another half. It was actually split between 3 teams originally. It was split between 3 teams, and each team had to sign off on each other's commit to the code base. But now it is sort of unified, from what I understand.
Okay, well that's good. Finally the way it should be, right? We got Dexter says, "Hey fellas, did you notice the amount of Sony published PC day and date releases announced at the State of Play? Neo 3 and Marvel Token. It begins." Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Neo 3 started with the Koei Tecmo logo. Because Sony only published those, I think, in Japan. I think Koei Tecmo's the one who published them in the States. I could be wrong on that, but I know... I mean, at least for this one, Koei Tecmo published it, and it is exclusive to PlayStation. But I'm not surprised about Marvel Tekken, considering PlayStation's pretty much said their multiplayer games are going to be day and date on PC. And at the end of the day, Marvel Token is a multiplayer fighting game. So, yeah, PC day one it is. We'll talk about the Sony State of Play in a little bit. Big Afroman, I think you said this. With every journalist saying there's money hat, I think we already talked about that. Face 23 BKNY says, I mean, Wukong did sell 25 million on the PC and PS5. They're not hurting for sales, in my opinion. Usually Sony will brag when they make third-party deals, so why would Wukong be a secret deal? I mean,
because they didn't commit to it, I suppose. It's it wasn't part of the deal, I suppose. Like when Sony does like a full-blown marketing blitz, it's usually for more than a year. It's not like they marketed Silent Hill like crazy either, to be fair.
Well, that is some people's explanations about why there wasn't a deal, because it wasn't treated the same as other Sony marketed exclusive deals. And so that's like people's reasoning for why there couldn't be one, because it's not treated the same as Final Fantasies or the Silent Hills or the Forspokens or any of the other ones. And
every deal is different at the end of the day.
Yeah, and like you said, I think is more of an engineering deal. And considering, there's a chance, like you said, their first year dev, right? This is their first game. Could be that PlayStation took advantage of them in the sense of like, hey, we'll help you get this game up to snuff on our system, but in exchange, we want exclusivity for a year. And not really knowing too much about it, or that, you know, that they took the deal and they were just precluded from it for a year. I guess it's something that will never be said. People that believe there was a deal will continue to go on believing there was, and people that won't will go on continue believing that there wasn't until, you know, somebody can provide proof of it, right? I mean, I'll tell you, like Jez said, Xbox knows there was a deal, or has said they think there was, and in their public facing statements. I mean, you could believe that or you could not believe it. So whether there is or isn't, I mean, it really doesn't matter now at the end of the day. The game's coming to Xbox. I'll be playing in August. I personally think there was a deal. I don't think it was a similar deal to any of the other games that PlayStation usually does. I think this was kind of a very...
Well, look how well it's played out for Sony, right? They get to undermine the Series S. They get to undermine like the faith that all games will even come to Xbox. I mean, without even marketing the game, it did gangbusters anyway. So I think it's worked out pretty well for Sony. But it's Microsoft
well, it worked
here
out
that
well
should
for
learn.
Sony and for Game Science because the game was a big success.
Yeah, indeed. So like, yeah, it's for me, it's still Microsoft. It's still on Microsoft to stop this kind of shit from happening.
Yeah.
You know, but they're giving them more money than ever, so it's probably going to happen even more than ever. You know.
The Andrew says Googled something about Act 1 of Expedition 33, and Google's AI summary bullshit spoiled the end of Act 1. Fuck AI. I want the old Google back.
There is an add-on you can get for Google, which for Chrome and Edge, which gets rid of all AI from Google. Not only does it get rid of all the AI, it gets rid of all the ads as well. So like if you want like a pure Google experience. I don't know what the add-on is off the top of my head, but I'll write an article about it soon because everyone in my team's using it. AI is just really annoying at the moment. It feels a bit like we're in the Wild West era again of the internet, except that like instead of independent creators making loads of money, it's only corporations making loads of money.
Yeah. We got the Andrew, $4.99. Oh no, I just read that. We got Noob Sabat saying, speaking of copycats, did you see that Sony Sea of Thieves knockoff?
Yeah, if that was Nintendo being ripped off, you can bet your ass there'd be a lawsuit coming. But that game was it's a NetEase game. Let's be honest, when it comes to NetEase, they're not known for originality, really, generally speaking. So it's not entirely surprising that they would make a game like this. I'm just sort of stunned at like how little they even tried to hide it. You know, it was just like, yeah, like why even rip off the art style? You could have made a pirate game that at least didn't rip off the art style, maybe like an anime pirate game or something. Because I don't necessarily think it's the art style that sells Sea of Thieves personally. But so yeah, it's just the way NetEase seem to do things apparently.
It is.
I will say this: the game is going to be free to play. It's also designed for iOS and Android, so it's probably going to be a pay-to-win hellscape. So I think a lot of core gamers, and especially Sea of Thieves fans, probably won't be into what they're offering. It doesn't look like it's going to be PvP either. So it's probably, in essence, going to be a different game entirely. But I'm still a bit salty about it, Rand, because I've always thought that Sea of Thieves with more PvE would be something more that I was interested in. But
surprised it's not. Surprised it's not on the Switch too. Actually, surprised it's also not on Xbox, unless Sony's. Oh, they're publishing it. Okay, I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't know they were. Well, there you go. That'd be a reason why.
It's kind of interesting, you know.
I wonder if Xbox knew they were making that game, which is one of the reasons Sea of Thieves went over there first to get a foothold.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Rand.
You know,
because there was someone I was talking to about why Sea of Thieves went to PlayStation, and they were like, and this wasn't that long ago, maybe 6 months ago or something like that. Oh, when was Sea of Thieves even announced for PlayStation?
It was
It wasn't
announced.
that long ago.
It was announced in February, and I've released in April, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, it would have been around the time of it being announced. I was kind of like, well, why are you guys doing this? Um, and sort of talking about trying to talk through some of the reasonings behind it, like as part of my research. And this person said to me, well, imagine this. Imagine a scenario where PlayStation makes a wholesale, you know, Sea of Thieves clone, and we're not present on the platform. We're just sort of undermining Sea of Thieves by arbitrarily keeping it on Xbox at that point. So, or something to that effect. I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but when I saw this announcement, it kind of took me back to that
Yeah.
conversation. I was
And
like,
a year later,
no.
there's a Sea of Thieves clone announced
Yeah,
for was it
yeah,
next year, right? Coming out next year on PlayStation or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I really was like, did they already know? Yeah, so
feels like maybe they already knew with that, right?
yeah, maybe.
Um,
There's a similar thing with Forza. It's like, yeah, okay, what if the next Gran Turismo is going to be Forza-like more than ever, Forza Horizon-like more than ever? Wouldn't it behoove Microsoft to, especially if they're also bringing the game to PC, which is like, why wouldn't they at this point? Wouldn't it behoove Microsoft to get a foothold on PlayStation now, rather than let PlayStation achieve a Gran Turismo Horizon that also simultaneously launches on PC and could potentially undermine Forza Horizon on PC as well at the same time? I think it's just the way the industry's going, man.
you know what? I don't want the industry to go in this way. Is Xbox storage solutions being as expensive as they are because the
You don't want to pay $500
4
for a
terabyte Xbox storage card from who makes this? Samsung?
Seagate.
Seagate, yeah. $500 for a 4 terabyte card, which
Yep,
is more than a Series S. It is
sure is.
used to be the price of the Series X before the
Yeah,
price is raised, right? Before all that stuff, and it just really shows me, man, Xbox made the wrong choice when it came to storage solutions this generation. Because when this was announced or when it was leaked, I went and I looked at uh, NVMe's, right? The ones that you can put
Mhm.
inside your PlayStations, and a similar one, 4 terabyte, was like you could get for like $220. And I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap. I guess that's what happens when you choose can't say that word. Priority or
Proprietary.
proprietary tech or storage
Yeah.
solutions. And I'm just like, man, the only person this would really appeal to is someone who is just disposable income up the wazoo. And because
And there's a lot of them.
I mean, there are a lot of them, but it's like, but also they would need a 4 terabyte card, which would mean you're never deleting anything on your hard drive ever. Because 4 terabyte plus the 1 terabyte internal space. So this only really appeals to somebody who plays a lot of games and also has a lot of disposable income. Because that's the price
Or
of a
maybe it has
console.
slow internet.
Oh,
Maybe you're rich, but you live somewhere like that's got shitty internet. So
yeah.
it's so maybe maybe you're like a rich billionaire who lives in the countryside, you know. But yeah, I don't know. But the thing is about all this stuff, I think Microsoft overthought it a little bit. I think Microsoft was like, we need a platform that you can plug and play. We don't want to ask people to pull a screwdriver out, and we don't ask people to, because there's millions of different NVMe's on the market. You could buy the wrong NVMe for your PlayStation. There's a specific read-write speed you need in order for PlayStation to register your hard drive. And I think it's a bit like the fragmentation that's going on right now with USB. There's like a million types of USB-C that some support data and some don't. Some support power and some don't. Some support display out and some don't, even though it's all on the same port, right? So I think Microsoft had good intentions when they chose CF Express, but it hasn't sort of played out probably how they wanted it to play out. But
Yeah.
what if the next Xbox supports NVMe M.2 storage, and there's also like they keep the slot
Yeah, that's not
for the
happening.
CF Express.
They're not gonna have both.
No, let me finish. Let me finish. I mean, they might, they could, because at
They
the end of
could,
the
but they
day,
won't.
if they do keep both, it's sort of like, well, okay, well, I've kind of future-proofed my system there a little bit, right? But I would assume that they want to increase the speed of the next Xbox storage option. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. Maybe Microsoft just buys CF Express and makes it cheaper. Nah, I doubt that. But
Yeah, I doubt that too. I very much do. But I saw that, I was like, that's sticker shock. I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of money for this thing.
so, Dark Fox says there are no 2230 NVMe drives that are 4 terabyte, which is the speed you need, the level you need for the PlayStation.
I mean, all I
I
went
don't
to
even know.
Amazon is I typed in 4 terabyte, NVMe, and it was like the
Well,
whole
this is
popped
exactly it,
up.
right?
So.
You are someone who might have got caught out by this, because there is a specific type of NVMe you need. You can't just use any old NVMe. So that's probably exactly why Microsoft did it this way in the first place. It's because, oh well,
I'm sure I would have researched it.
Rand.
I would have researched it more if I actually was going to purchase one for my PS5 than just buy a random. I just randomly searched on Amazon.
Think of little Timmy and his grandma.
Yeah,
bro.
well,
you not think of little Timmy and his grandma?
I'm sure little Timmy and his grandma ain't going to be replacing the storage in the PS5 anyways. So, because you want to know why?
Yeah,
little Timmy and his grandma probably only have one game installed on it, and it's Fortnite or Roblox. So they don't need more storage.
You're telling me Gen Alpha has no taste in games?
It's not that they have no taste in games, but that's the games they like to play. You think Gen Alpha gives a shit about God of War and Kratos, or Alloy and Horizon? Probably don't even know what the hell that stuff is. They're probably not even playing on console anyways. They're playing on their iPads.
iPad kids?
Probably.
It's kind of funny though. Like my friend, Gembox 360, in fact, her son is 4 years old, and he's become a Steam Deck kid.
Ooh.
So he was an iPad kid, but he's graduated
to Steam Deck, huh?
Yeah, because he's obsessed with these mods for the Java version of Minecraft. Oh man, there's this mod for Minecraft that's really popular with kids right now called what's it called? I think it's called Witherstorm or something, and it creates like a giant. It creates like a super wither which sucks everything into it and turns into a black hole or some crap. But yeah, you can't do none of that shit with an iPad.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's talk about Sony State of Play. So I think both me and you watched it. A lot of debate about this one. Even because Jeff Keighley always does a poll after every single show, right? Kind of gives you a sense of what the gaming community sort of feels about a show, right? Everyone's going to have their own opinions about certain things. Because certain games are going to appeal more to some people than other people. So Jeff Keighley's poll, if I'm bringing it up, where is it? Where are you, Jeff? You tweeting so much because of Summer Games Fest today. Okay. Yeah, we get it.
Wasn't it like evenly split between A, B, C, and D? Like
yeah,
25%?
well, so here we go. So the leading candidate, the leading number, was D with 28.1%. That's the, 28.1% is leading, and that was D. But a B is a 26.8%. So pretty close. So BD. A was third at 24.2%. And then C was third at 20.9%. So if you, add them together, a C and a D, you get exactly, what is that? 49%. And then A and B would be 51%. So 51% of the people thought it was a pretty good show, an A and a B. Well, then 49% of the people thought it was, okay to bad, I guess, at 49%. So it definitely kind of seems split down the middle. Now, I've seen reactions ranging from it's it's the best showcase anybody's put on in the industry in 2 generations, which is kind of laughable. Yeah, I've seen that take. I've seen people say, a lot of people really defending their opinions over this one. I've seen people say that if you didn't like this showcase, you're not really a true gamer or the state of play. And I'm just like, that's an odd thing to say. Because I feel like there were some games here that were definitely stuff that I want to play day one. And it was also, I think for a lot of people, it was the people that didn't like it, it was mostly because it definitely leaned heavy like Japanese. And not everybody likes Japanese stuff. And there was not a lot of like actual PlayStation first party things here, which I think some people really want when they tune into a Sony show, is they want to see like Sony games there rather than a third party thing which could show up at a Summer Games Fest. So,
or an Xbox.
Yeah, so here's what was revealed, and we'll give our quick rundown. Lumines Arise, puzzle game from the makers of Enhance, who did Tetris Effect. I'm not a puzzle guy, so I know people love Lumines and it looks really cool, but it's not something that really interests me. I don't know if it interests you at all.
Nope.
But that game
I don't like thinking.
You don't like thinking. I think that game is coming to PC, but I believe it's a PlayStation exclusive. At least whatever. Pragmata finally showed up after 4 years with the release year 2026. Their space adventures action horror game featuring a young robot girl and a astronaut guy that fight robots. I thought it looked cool. We'll need to see more of it when it eventually, get some gameplay stuff for next year, but it's definitely on my list of games that I'm interested in. We got Suda51's and Grasshopper Manufacturer's new game, Romeo is Deadman, which was definitely a very... It was like, I remember seeing the very beginning of that and the art style they're going for. I'm like, what is this? Who cares about this? But then it transitioned into almost like a Dead Rising-ish game. And then immediately I'm like, oh, like, is this Suda51? And then it showed up that it was. I'm like, okay, I've played some Suda51 games. I've liked them in the past.
What games does he make again?
Suda51, I want to say he made like Shadows of the Damned. Let me Google it really quickly, because I know I've played some of his games before. Suda51. Let me see which ones I played. He's made
Normal Heroes.
Yeah, he's made Shadows of the Dam, which is a game I played, which was recently remastered. I quite like that one. He made Killer 7, which was a really cool game back in the day, 2005. He made No More Heroes, which isn't a franchise that I've really played.
That's the only one I've played, is No More Heroes.
So I've played of his. I played Killer 7, I played Shadows of the Damned, and I liked both of those games. So that's why when I saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, this looks interesting. Definitely on my the initial look at it, I was like, I don't know about this, but yeah, it's got my attention for sure. Silent Hill F comes September 25th, all the platforms.
See, now this is when I started watching it. I started watching it after that trailer, so I missed a bit of the start of it.
I thought Silent Hill F looked cool. I think they're saying that it's more action focused than Silent Hill 2 was, which we were kind of skeptical about Silent Hill 2 because of the developer, but they completely knocked it out of the park. This one is also, you're kind of skeptical about the developer, because I think they're ones that made Resident Evil Reverse, which was shut down really quickly. So okay,
terrible.
I really liked the aesthetics of that game, so I'm probably gonna play it day one. I do love me some Silent Hill. It's one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, I'm intrigued about it. I just hope it's not. I hope it's more Silent Hill 2 remake and not Silent Hill, I don't know, Downpour. One of the
Downpour,
less than good ones.
We got a trailer for Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement, which is a sequel to, or it's a new Bloodstained game. Castlevania inspired 2D action game. I didn't play
Coming
Bloodstained.
to Xbox.
I don't. Yes, pretty sure it is.
I did play Bloodstained, but it was, I don't know what happened, but one day I came to play it and my save file was gone. So I was like, well,
yeah, so
I'm
you're
never
like,
playing this
shit.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a game that I was kind of annoyed wasn't Play Anywhere, because it's the kind of game you would want to play anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Even though it is on the Xbox store for PC, it's not Play Anywhere. So it's like, ugh, great. But yeah, continue.
We got a trailer for Digimon Storytime Stranger, which they recently came out and said is going to run at 30 frames on every platform or every console it's coming to, because it's coming everywhere, which is like rip. I mean, I zoned out on this. I was like, I don't care about no Digimon game. Sorry. So I was like, whatever. But it was like all these games in a row. I was like, man, this is definitely very Japanese focused, and it was, a lot of different genres presented here. You start with the puzzle game and like your AAA action third person game, to a really artistic off the wall Suda 51 game, to your Silent Hill game, to a Castlevania 2D game, Bloodstained, to Digimon. It's like, wow, man, they're really going at it here. And then probably Jez's favorite announcement: Final Fantasy Tactics remake, remaster.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to see this. Of course I was. But then there was a little sting at the end of it, Rand. Little sting.
Yeah, because you wrote an article today. Because you were like, this game better become an Xbox, and it was announced for every platform. But I guess the twist of the knife is that it's not coming to Windows PC, or Xbox PC as they call it, and it's not Xbox Play Anywhere, at least right now, which means Jez can't play it in the cloud, and he can't play it on his PC, and he can't take his saves in between all that stuff. So
yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And it sucks especially because Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster have been my go-to Lenovo Legion Go games for like forever. Like, I have a bunch of games that I play on my console, a bunch of games I play on PC, and a bunch of games that are like, ideal for handheld. Like, they're 2D, they don't use much battery life, all that kind of shit. And this is a game that would have been perfect for Xbox Play Anywhere. And it's just like, well, thanks, Square Enix. Like, it's so weird. Like, after supporting Play Anywhere, the Pixel remasters, they've decided not to support it with this one. And it's very, very rare that a game gets Play Anywhere support retroactively. Very, very rare. So this is just another one of them sort of Microsoft's fighting potentially a losing battle with this shit. If a game isn't on Game Pass, it almost never gets Play Anywhere support. And I think like whatever figures Square Enix got from Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, they must have just been like, well, this ain't worth our time, And maybe it isn't, and that's just the reality of it. But it's something for Microsoft to fix.
We got some,
in my opinion,
got some montage of some stuff. We got baby steps. Like, well, okay.
That game looked pretty mid.
Hirogami. Cairn, which was a climbing game, which I was like,
that game looked pretty good.
Didn't I play a game just like Cairn like last year? Jusant? I guess you can't get enough of climbing games, huh?
Yeah, Cairn actually has quite a lot of hype behind it, like on PC. I've seen like a lot of PC subreddits talking about it, so hope that comes to Xbox someday.
And the 2D Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Yeah, Ragebound already really cool. Announced.
Yes.
Looks fantastic. The developers, I think they're called Game Kitchen, developers of Blasphemous, which is honestly one of the best Souls-like Metroidvanias you can possibly play. If you loved Hollow Knight, you've got to play Blasphemous. It's just fantastic. I think it's probably quite a lot harder than Hollow Knight, to be honest. I don't know if that's because, I don't know, you can't, it's not much of a platformer. So it's like, I think with Hollow Knight, a lot of the difficulty comes from the platforming aspect of it, but this is like a lot of fucking, oh, I've got to parry now. So it's like that kind of gameplay, right? But yeah, I love Blasphemous. It's fantastic. Another game I would love to be playing anywhere, but alas is not. Alas is not.
Alas, is not. We got the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection finally, where they in this collection you're gonna get like Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4, and some of the handheld games, which is pretty awesome. Rollback netcode. I mean, this is like my fighting game franchise. This is the one that my favorite. And I don't play fighting games. It's really just Mortal Kombat at the end of the day. So it's cool to see this. It's like a little bit of nostalgia. God, I remember going to the arcade so much to play Mortal Kombat 3. So much. Like almost every day. I think I've told that story where people would leave and I'd go into my parents' closet and my dad had a milk jug, like an empty milk jug with just coins in it. And so I would grab like a whole bunch of quarters and then take my bike and ride it the mile up to the nearest arcade and just play Mortal Kombat for like 30 minutes and then ride home. And I never got caught. Like I never came home while somebody was home like, where'd you go or whatever, you know? So
hang on. Is this another story about Rand being a thief?
Nah, I mean, I've told the story
This is another
No,
story about
it's
you
not
being
another
a criminal.
story.
You are not beating those criminal allegations, Rand.
This is a story I've told before.
Okay. So you're still a criminal then. Hey, it's Infinite Umbra in the chat.
What up, Infinite? What's up, Umbra? How you doing?
Sorry, Infinite. Rand's just telling another incriminating story about his criminal past.
Yeah. Taking quarters from my dad and riding up to the nearest arcade to play Mortal Kombat 3.
You know? Stealing is stealing, bro.
I know. I'm sorry.
If you're in the grim future of the 41st millennium, that would be heresy, bro.
Well, you know, Sony then announced a fight stick, which I guess should have made me realize that they were going to announce a fighter at the end of the show, because I was like, a fight stick? I was like, well, they do have Evo and stuff, and
I thought my thought was like, man, they made a fight stick for the Mortal Kombat collection.
my thought should have been like, they're announcing this fight stick. I should have realized that is because they got a game coming later. We got a new trailer for Metal Gear Solid Delta coming August 28th, but seemed like they were teasing Metal Gear Online there at the end, Jez, yeah? Are they bringing that back?
Yeah. I mean, Metal Gear Online was a weird one. It was like, when I tried playing it, it was like, what is this? This is terrible. But it had a really, really passionate community. And then it was just like marred by hackers and stuff. But apparently, like, it had a really passionate community, and there's a lot of people like eager for something like that to come back. So it does look like they're going to bring it back. Yeah, I think so.
All right. I mean, I don't know if I'll play Metal Gear Online, but I'm really looking forward to playing through the campaign of Metal Gear Solid 3 again. I mean, if you had to stack it up, I'd probably put that as my favorite Metal Gear game. Even though I like all three of them, like Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 and 3. I think 3 was the one I liked the most. So really looking forward to that. And it comes out the day after my birthday, so that's great.
Sweet.
Neo 3 from Team Ninja was announced, which I've never played a Neo game. I did play Wukong or Wulong when it came out. Was it last year or the year before? I liked it. You know, I didn't love it. But I've never really played a Neo game, and from people I know that know my gaming taste, they'd say like the Neo franchise isn't for you. So I was like, okay. You made a tweet about this one, Jez.
Is it Souls-like? This is Souls-like? Souls-like?
I've never played it, but I assume it's similar in nature to it. Yeah. A Thief VR game, Jez. They're bringing back Thief for VR. Odd game to bring back for VR,
I was a little bit salty about this.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Thief. I'm a big fan of, like, you know, the whole immersive sim kind of genre, you know. And even though the last Thief that launched on the Xbox One back in the day wasn't amazing, I still appreciated the fact that it wasn't completely dead as a franchise. And I actually kind of like the characters and story, but for them to bring back Thief as VR just feels like not just a slap in the face. It feels like a kick in the balls, and it feels like, I don't know, a poke in the eye at the same time. It feels like all three of those, Rand. I ain't happy about this. But if you're a VR person, great. This is probably going to be hopefully a landmark VR experience, because there ain't many of them.
I hear you were a VR person before Phil canceled the VR system for Xbox. Is that true?
Sure, man. Well, I hadn't really like. I was the VR that I'd used up until that point was like the HP Windows Mixed Reality headset, which was just god awful. It was absolutely terrible. But at the same time, it felt like there's something here. Mining in Minecraft with my hands and being able to look around the cave, it was amazing. Honestly, it's so cool. But the more I played, the more I felt sick, the more I felt awful, the more the glasses steamed up. It was just like, this is so much hard work when all I want to do is play a game, So I think, like, if they can ever solve those usability issues, the comfort level, then maybe VR can be a thing. But like, even like on the Meta Quest, which is probably the best VR you can get today, it's nowhere near the level of comfort that I think it needs to be for mass market adoption. But, and people always say to me, like, well, it goes away after a couple of weeks. It's like, I don't want to train for 2 weeks to play a game. Fuck that.
You don't want
I have had, but no. I have had some fun in VR. Like, Beat Saber's a good workout. And that's one game that doesn't really fatigue you, because there's not much to look at in the game. It's just you're looking at the blocks, right, and you're standing still. But anything that gets even slightly complicated, it starts becoming really fatiguing. Like even like the shooting gallery kind of games, like Arizona Sunshine, which is like it's a zombie shooter. It's really good. It's like it was one of the best VR games during that first initial wave. But again, it's just like it's just exhausting to play, man. I could just play anything else, literally anything else, and I will. So now I'm sort of like on the wait and see bus when it comes to VR.
What else we got? We have Tides of Tomorrow, which I thought looked kind of cool, very vibrant. It's also like it's like a online game. It's a mix of online asynchronous gameplay and having to deal with other people's decisions in a dying and flooded world. Tides of Tomorrow comes next year in February. I mean, I don't know if I'll end up playing it, but it definitely caught my attention because I was just like, "What is this?" You know what game I'm talking about, right? No. Okay, the very bright and colorful game. No. Okay. Well.
No. There was a lot of bright and colorful games.
Yeah, but this one is definitely. I think you'd remember it if you saw it. Astrobot's getting more levels in the future. Yep. We already talked about Sea of Remnants, which is a Sea of Thieves inspired game, I guess you can say. Looked just like it, and I was like, "Oh my god, okay, they're just really copying it." Sword of the Sea, from the developers of Journey and The Pathless and Abzu, is coming out in August and coming to PlayStation Plus day one. I played all three of their games. Giant Squid, and I've liked all three of their games quite a bit, so I'll be playing this one day one when it comes out. I think it looks really cool. It's almost like Journey, but with a hoverboard in a way, with some elements of Abzu. So I'm looking forward to playing that. They announced some stuff coming to PS Plus Classics, and we got our first look at 007 First Light, or First Light 007, which is the new Bond game coming from IO Interactive. Jez, do you have thoughts about this new Bond?
I have. I think it looked very good. obviously, I think there's a bit of like Britishism here. I really like James Bond, always have.
Right.
I mean, like I'm not a super hyper fan, but I loved it when I was a little kid. It was, you know, I think every British kid growing up in the 90s loved James Bond. The GoldenEye was like the hypest shit ever. So like to see it come back in the hands of such a capable developer, and let's face it, IO Interactive is a very
Yes.
capable
Very,
developer,
very good.
is awesome. I did also I couldn't help but think, yeah, it's Hitman with gadgets and James Bond skin. So it still looks like that engine, but it's also a very, very good engine. And it also looked like maybe they've taken a step up in the writing and cinematics department, I felt a bit like. So yeah, I'm down for this. I'm quite looking forward to this. And I'm, glad that it's coming to Xbox, I guess.
Yeah,
Do you
here's the
do you think it
thing.
looked good?
I thought it looked good. I'm not necessarily sold. Like, one of the things I saw when you first got to see what he looks like, I was like, it looks like Baby Bond, right? Because this is supposed to be a story set before he really becomes the James Bond, and it's like right when he's out of the Navy, kind of maybe like how he gets put into the Double O program in general. So I was initially like, I don't know if I like the look of Bond, but I mean, third person is the right way to go. It definitely gave me a lot of mix of Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and Hitman. Right, where
Yeah,
you
he
where
looks
you
very young, but it's meant to be like an origin story, right?
yeah,
I like that they're putting their own mark on it, and it sort of gives it an opportunity to become a franchise. If this game does well, they can do a
because
2 and a
because
3.
there was kind of the concern that people had that, oh, they're just going to take Hitman and put a Bond skin over it, right? So it's like you're
Yeah,
basically going to be playing Hitman, but it's James Bond. But it definitely seems more cinematic and action orientated than
yeah,
Hitman is. Even though I still think it still has some of those Hitman elements. Uh, you probably use like disguises, and there'll be different ways maybe to enter or exit certain levels. But it definitely seems like you'll be going guns free more often, and you got the gadgets. Like there was a little scene there where you could see like the laser from the watch, driving
yeah.
sections. So I think it's gonna be like that Uncharted Tomb Raider mixed in with Hitman, and it's coming next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. I thought I
Yeah,
thought I
I'm
thought
looking
that looked
forward to
great,
it.
and I think they're supposed to be doing a showcase for it soon, like what, tomorrow, I believe, or is it later today, or maybe it's on Sunday or something, where we're gonna show off the gameplay. I mean, we got little glimpses of gameplay in this reveal here, so you can sort of make an
Mm.
impression, but definitely a game where I'm like looking at next year and I'm like, all right, this is one of those games that I definitely can't miss, and
Yeah,
it's up there. We
I
got
think
a,
that might have been game of the show for me, actually.
I mean, it probably was for me, for sure. Then we got a very, very short teaser for Ghost of Yotai, where PlayStation blue balled everybody looking forward to this game. It was like 15 seconds
Yeah,
long, and it
that was
said,
a
"Tune in,
strange decision.
tune in to a dedicated state of play in July in a month." And it's like, that's it, okay. And then
That was definitely a decision.
Sony's big announcement was that they are working with Arc System Works, who make Guilty Gear, and they're making a Marvel 4v4 fighter called Marvel Token Fighting Souls, which I guess kind of says that there ain't going to be no more Marvel vs. Capcom in the future. uh,
I don't think it necessarily says that.
I don't know. I
I
certainly
mean,
feel like that's the case.
I think it's probably unlikely, but I also think like at the end of the day, if the deal was right, I don't think Disney would be totally against the idea of having two Marvel-based fighters as long as they got their cut. They don't give a shit about the games, do they?
Yeah, I mean
They
the
just they
Arc.
just they just want them to be. They just want to make money at the end of the day. I don't think Arc System Works can say to Disney, "Oh yeah, we'll only do this if you give us exclusivity to the license in this genre." I don't think there's a scenario where that happens.
Maybe
But
I feel like this. I feel like this is sort of taking the place of that, and it was definitely a surprise announcement. Although I guess when you look at it, maybe it shouldn't be that surprising considering like PlayStation, Sony bought Evo, which is the biggest like fighting game community tournament thing in the world, and it was like they did need a first party fighting game. You know, Xbox has Killer Instinct and Nintendo has Super Smash.
Xbox barely has Killer Instinct.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there still is a head of Killer Instinct out there, and Iron Galaxy is still tweeting about the events they go to play Killer Instinct and stuff. So, I mean, the fact that there's still
a long time ago that was the case.
No, like as of like last couple days. So.
Oh really?
Yeah. So like the fact that there's still a head of Killer Instinct to me implies that there's probably going to be a new Killer Instinct at some point. Otherwise, why would you have a head of Killer Instinct, right? There hasn't been anything new in forever. So Sony now has their and granted it is a license thing. It's not really, and they tried having their own with PlayStation All-Stars years ago, but that didn't turn out very well. But this did get a lot of press, and a lot of people are excited. If you're a fighting game fan, I'm sure you're probably over the moon. But as someone who doesn't...
Maximilian dude
he went nuts.
Freaking out.
Yeah, I went and I watched his reaction to it. He was completely flabbergasted by it.
If you're a fighting game guy and a Marvel guy, this is like your dream game.
This is like dream game.
By the Guilty Gear devs, if you... I'm not a fighting game guy, and I'm not a Marvel guy, but I can even I can see like the quality that this game looks to espouse. So yeah, I mean, I get why people are excited about this, but I also get why lots of people were just like, that's it.
I mean, for me, I don't care about fighting games like that. Like, the only one I care about is Mortal Kombat. And I don't even care about Mortal Kombat in the sense of, like, I want to play against other people. I just like to experience the story and stuff and do some arcade matches. I don't care about playing against other people. So to me, when I see this, I'm like, I don't really care. Like it doesn't do anything to me. Like Lumines doesn't do anything for me, you know. So I mean, I thought it was a good show, not a great one, not a bad one. Just, I mean, if you're looking for PlayStation exclusive content, it wasn't really there, and that sort of seems to be the theme for PlayStation State of Plays in the recent years. It's like you might get one thing and that's it. So if you're just tuning in to see exclusive content, maybe you're disappointed by it. If you're not really a fan of Japanese stuff, you're probably really disappointed by it. But if you're into all that stuff, it probably was super, super great for you, right?
Yeah, it did seem pretty polarizing. I was not someone who
polarizing.
I was not particularly excited by the show overall. I mean, obviously, I'm not someone who's really into fighting games. Everyone knows I'm not into Marvel. So, like, when I saw that as the final thing, I was like, is there not going to be a one more thing? I really thought there was going to be a one more thing kind of scenario, but then the credits rolled. And I was kind of surprised that it ended that way. But I know how passionate that community is. So the fighting game community is like beside themselves with happiness about Sony delivering this, and also just Sony serving their community. Like I can see why someone might roll their eyes. Like the live chat and the state of play, people were like spamming LLL when they announced the fight stick, but it's like Sony's serving that community, you know. When's the last time Microsoft made a racing wheel, you know, for the Forza community? I don't think they ever have they? Or maybe not since the 90s or something. But I kind of feel like that's some of the stuff I would like to see Xbox to do more. Xbox has done some great things with accessibility, which is awesome, you know. So I appreciate Microsoft accessory team for doing that. And obviously they make a lot of cool custom controllers, which I actually wrote about this week because I did get my hands on a cheeky Witcher controller and also the Doom controller, and I realized I've unwittingly started an Xbox controller collection out here. So like, to say Xbox doesn't serve the community with accessories would be a lie, but I think it's cool that Sony's doing it as well, is what I'm saying.
Right.
In essence.
So let's talk about our final expectations for some Xbox Game Showcase, shall we? Because
we actually had a little bit of news about this during our conversation.
Well, Phil Spencer put out a tweet earlier about he was sworn to secrecy, blah, 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 tune in to whatever on the show. And then Aaron Greenberg replied to a tweet from community member Wagerman. What was this tweet, Jez?
Phil's or Aaron's?
Aaron's. I'll read Aaron's because I think I have it here. Aaron says, looking forward to the show. Just don't overhype it too much. We sort of burned the house down last year. Which, I mean, could they be doing the good old under-promise and over-deliver? Or is this more trying to set expectations? Although this was a reply to someone's tweet, not necessarily a tweet. Like a forward-facing tweet that Aaron would put out. So we'll give, because I had planned on making a prediction video, but I had done so many prediction podcasts this past week and a half, from Defining Duke to our own show to Web Dave's show to a show with Nate DeHate and MVG, that I was just kind of like completely over it. When I went to sit down and make it, I was just like, I just don't have it in me to talk about this again. So I figure like, all right, well, me and Jess still got this last show on Friday, so we'll give our final predictions, which aren't really any different than what I was already sort of thinking. Like, as far as what's there, I think you'll see the Final Fantasy games, and I think Jez agrees, right? Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Persona 4 Remake's going to be there. I'm holding out hope for Splinter Cell, but I feel like Ubisoft's going to just stab me through the fucking heart, and they ain't going to say shit. So as much as I want to say it every single year, I'm in an abused relationship with Ubisoft. Every year I'm like, they'll finally do it this year, and then every year I get smacked across the face, and you know, and then I always come back and be like, please, is this the year? And it's like, no. So I want Splinter Cell to be there. I don't know. I just don't understand why fucking they would tweet that picture if they weren't planning on doing something. I mean, you know. And I know they weren't part of Jeff Keighley's list of Summer Games Fest, like, you know, publishers and developers that were a part of it. But I don't know if that has anything to do with not being at, you know, that means they're not for sure at the Xbox show. It just means they're not at Keighley's show. You know, I want to hope that Silk Song's there, right? At one of these things, but it's probably not going to happen either.
I wouldn't be so sure.
I mean, you never know. It's like, I guess it could be.
Some people know.
Third-party stuff is always a little difficult, but I mean, I just hope that Splinter Cell's there, and hopefully the Xbox fans are happy when their Final Fantasy games are there, and you can make a tweet being like, "Told you the whole slate was coming." You know, where people doubted you about that. Although if it doesn't show up here, good luck with that one, Jez.
It's gonna. That's not an issue.
Well, I know. As for first party stuff, you know, Elder Scrolls 6 closing the show. That's a hope and a dream. Maybe that's too hopeful. Maybe it's too far away.
I kind of feel like Aaron wouldn't be out here saying temper expectations if Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be there.
Even if Elder Scrolls 6 there, I don't really, you know.
Maybe he's bait and switching though.
Sure, but I think what you can expect to see is Clockwork Revolution, State of Decay 3.
They were posting teaser pictures recently.
Double Fine's new game, whatever it is. I think you can probably expect to see those. I would say don't have any expectations for Fable. I don't think it's going to be here. I don't think Perfect Dark's going to be here. I don't think Gears E-Day is going to be here. I could see a trailer for Gears Reloaded, which would be I don't know why they would announce Gears Reloaded on social media, only then to also then have it at their own show. It's like, why wouldn't you do one? Maybe they didn't want to announce it for the first time that it's coming to other platforms, so they did it social media announcement first.
Maybe they had a hint that it was going to leak or something.
Maybe. I mean, people have been talking about it for years, right? Special Nick and some of the other people.
No, he talked about a collection. Let's not get it mixed up.
Well, true, but he's claiming that he was right because he's claiming that they took the individual games out of the collection and they're going to sell it to you
Oh,
piecemeal. So he
oh,
still says he won, that he was right
fair
all
enough.
along.
Fair enough.
I mean, you would think Contraband would be there considering it's been 4 years, but probably won't be. And people will be afterwards being like, "Where the hell's Contraband?" Everwild's been talked about quite a bit this year. Phil's mentioned in interviews. He went to play it recently. They used it as a as like their holiday card.
Mm-hmm.
But watch it not show up, and then if Everwild doesn't show up, just don't even mention that game ever again, because it's been 5 years at this point. Like,
well, we're going to mention it next year.
I'm just saying the game's. How could it not show up is the thing. It's been 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's
how could it not?
It's not looking good.
Even
it's
if
not looking good
even
for Everwild to be there, based on what I've heard. Put it that way. But didn't Nate already also say that?
I mean,
on the podcast?
Nate put out his predictions, and he didn't think Everwild would be there. But it's just like,
Yeah.
and if it's not, it's like one of those things where you look at it, you're like, and I understand they started from scratch, but
part of me is like, this is from the era of Microsoft announcing things too early, which is probably why Aaron might be out here tempering expectations. They've probably got tons of games in development, but they're probably like, well, we'll wait before announcing this shit now because we don't want to get into another Everwild situation, right? But I don't think Everwild will ever live up to people's expectations when it's announced. Like, I don't know, maybe it gets announced next year or the year after. But one game that I'm really excited to see, and you already mentioned this, but State of Decay 3, man. I am like, I know again, game's not for everyone, but it's definitely for me. Zombie apocalypse, space management, all that kind of shit, survivalisms with my mates. That's like my ideal kind of game, and I've been waiting for this game since State of Decay 1, because obviously State of Decay 1 had its problems. The vision was there, but the execution wasn't. And the same with State of Decay 2. Huge step up in a lot of respects, but still not really delivering on that promise, that vision that Jeff Strain put out there back in the day with, I can't remember what it's called. But he had like code names for all the different versions of State of Decay that he was going to iterate on until it finally got to this grand vision that he'd always sort of planned for. Obviously, Jeff Strain took his bag from selling Undead Labs and has sailed off into the sunset now. But hopefully we can finally see the fruits of that labor and get a little bit closer to the original vision. So
I think
I'm excited.
If anybody likes the handheld stuff, I think we'll get the reveal of Project Kennen this week. Most, like whether it's at today, it's
Hang on, man.
show or.
I thought I was fake news and that this shit didn't exist.
I mean, we know the truth. We know the truth. I think that gets revealed this weekend. Could easily be at the Xbox show. Could easily be at, I guess, Jeff Keighley's show. I don't know, but I think we see that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like just an announcement trailer for Spyro 4, maybe for hiring purposes. Like, hey, we're working on Spyro 4. Come work with us for Toys for Bob.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm thinking Ninja Gaiden 4 opens the show. Because I feel like they're going to open the show with the game that's releasing this year. And I guess they could still do COD. Like, here's the new COD like they did last year. But Outer Worlds 2 has its own presentation later in the show. So I could easily see them opening up with something really hot and action-y, like right into the action right away with Ninja Gaiden. Because it is supposed to come out this year, give a solid release date. Instead of like starting off with something that's maybe next year. So you start off with something that's happening in a few months. And then you end with some future game. I don't know what it could be. There's plenty of games that they have that aren't announced yet that they could pull out. Right? I still want to believe in Elder Scrolls 6. So
Same.
We'll see.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 is kind of the pie in the sky kind of thing, but you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah. So
the reason I wanted to predict that is because I've started hearing rumors about the game.
Ooh.
Which suggests to me that more people at Microsoft are privy to it. which suggested to me that, maybe there's a trailer going around internally, but at the same time, that was still a bit pie in the sky. It's not exactly unheard of for Microsoft to demonstrate its games internally but not show them to the public. There's plenty of those I know about.
You know what? I
Yeah.
say screw you, and let's get a
Screw me.
let's get a StarCraft reveal at the end of the show. Screw BlizzCon, screw Jez. We don't need that. StarCraft.
I
Let's
mean,
go.
it could happen. It could happen. I mean, Blizzard is often at Gamescom in a big way because they've got a huge fan base in Europe. And I think especially so a huge StarCraft fan base in Europe. So maybe it is there, you know. Obviously, originally it was revealed by Jason Schreier, and I can confirm via my sources that it's absolutely true what Jeff said. Jason said. But yeah, we'll hopefully see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we got some super chats here. We got Danny Passion Official says Resident Evil 9 on space. That's Dead Space. We got James Wiseau says Rand and Jez in my ears, Switch 2 in my hands, SGF in 40 minutes. What a time to be a gamer. Sending my love and positive vibes your way. Well, thank you, James. Hope you enjoy the show and your Switch 2. Jimmy the Gamer says Neo 3 isn't being published by Sony, unlike the first two games, and yet it's only coming to PS5 and PC. Why no Xbox port? There's no mention of an exclusivity deal for the game on Sony's website too. I don't know. Maybe they feel like
companies don't always talk about exclusivity deals and stuff like that.
Yeah, but maybe they were like, well, can't just put Neo 3 on here without Neo 1 and 2. I don't know. Not really sure. Daniel says Microsoft needs to just release their own version of Tiny 11 for handheld with Xbox UI as the default desktop.
Well, hey, maybe you'll get your wish.
Maybe you will. But you know what? Let's get to the Patreon questions because we don't got a lot of time. Gotta get through these quick because we got Summer Games Fest coming up at 4 p.m. in 37 minutes. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. If you did enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more content. Sorry this is a shorter episode, but gotta blame Jeff Keighley. You know, and we started earlier to make up for it. If you want to help support us in any way financially, you can always check out the Patreon, patreon.com/XB2 for exclusive benefits, like the question and answer thread that we'll be reading here in just a moment. And check out our sponsor, Surfshark VPN, for 86% off a 2-year deal. All that stuff really helps the podcast, and we appreciate it very much so. So, Jez, let's go to these Patreon questions. Trickster for Trey says, do we see Final Fantasy VII Remake finally come to my favorite plastic box? I'm hoping for some good surprises. I believe, yes, the dream will be realized today, which we already sort of talked about, right? So,
yep.
The dream is finally here, potentially. And who knows, maybe even, Nate said it on his podcast, but he's predicting a Final Fantasy 16 Shadow Drop, Jez.
Oh, damn.
At the show.
But if that's the case, I mean, maybe it'll show up on the Xbox store.
Maybe like Xbox themselves will leak
the
next
few hours.
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, because apparently the developers of Liza P have leaked their own Shadow Drop of their expansion.
The Liza P expansion is Shadow Dropping. Is probably going to be announced at the Keighley's in a couple hours, right?
Yeah. They posted their trailer a bit early, and it said available now. So
cool. And I gotta play Liza P at some point. Sierra Woman Kevin says, "Hey, Rand and Jez, as always, appreciate you both. With the early look at Witcher 4 at the Unreal event, should we expect Gears Z-Day to really wow us? Witcher 4 was impressive, and that is open world. Thinking with the more contained environments in Gears, the graphics could be even more impressive. Second, will Microsoft finally show the game we all want, Phantom Dust? What is this? Is Sierra 11 Kevin secretly Miles Dampier? Do we figure out Miles is alt here?
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think we talked a bit about Witcher, and I think like when it's a tech demo, I think the finished product when you've compressed everything and you
Well,
have to account for
he meant it
hardware.
like, what can we expect from Gears? Well,
Yeah, but
yeah.
that's my point though. It's like based on, I don't think you can expect The Witcher 4 to look that good based on what we saw. So, in fairness, I don't think necessarily you could expect such a huge leap from Gears either. But the coalition are wizards when it comes to that platform. They're some of the best in the business. And I think if anyone can sort of make that engine really sing, it's probably the coalition. So I would have high hopes for them to push the bar visually when it comes to Unreal Engine and maybe just, console gaming in general. But we'll see. And it's like one of the cool things they did in Gears 5 actually on that point is that Gears 5 like had ray tracing on the Xbox One X, if you remember. Because they did some clever things where it was kind of like their loading screen equivalent where you'd walk through a slow section and you sort of had to look at the environment for a bit, and they sort of loaded everything else out of the game. But in that just one little section where you had to look in the environment, you were moving slowly. There was like ray tracing just for that tiny little segment, and then you sort of pause and go, "Oh my god, it looks amazing!" I think it was like in the ice forest they did that, and it was just like, that looks amazing. But then as soon as you step out of that area, it just goes back to having no ray tracing. But you don't really notice because it's like the way the game's designed is quite clever like that. So I'm expecting more like clever visual tricks like that from those guys. They are
I think
absolute
Gears
wizards.
EDA is going to look incredible. I mean, if there's
Yeah,
anybody,
it's definitely gonna look incredible.
that are wizards with Epic or Unreal, just like Epic is, it's the Coalition. So Gears is going to look absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And Phantom Dust, we'll never see Phantom Dust again. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news on that one. Watch it show up. Watch it show up. Watch it be the final game, like the Xbox show, or as you said, apparently the final card game or whatever the hell Reddit gaming leaks and rumors said you said.
The final card game. What the hell is that?
I have no idea. Silas, our good buddy Silas, says, "Good day, lads. If you can interview one person for an hour and they would be 100% honest with their responses, who would it be? Some caveats. You can only each pick one person. It has to be someone from the games industry, no authors or wrestlers. And it can't be Phil Spencer or Dream Guest, Genbox, or Tim Dog." Interesting. Who would
I didn't view Satya Nadella. He's in the gaming industry.
I guess he's in the gaming industry. You know what? If I could get 100% honesty, I'm going with lying, crying, flying, Jim Dance Moves Ryan, baby. Oh, I think that would be an all-time interview right there. 100% honesty. Let's go, Jim Ryan. You're coming on down for this interview. Let's go.
What would you ask you?
Oh man, I don't know. I'd come up with questions though. I'd talk about how do you feel about your initiative being a complete failure? Did you really believe in Concord that much? Oh man, there's so many questions you could ask. Oh, it'd be great. Love it so much. BMM777 says, "What's up, guys? Hope all is well. I know we're all excited for the upcoming gaming news. I know you guys have joked a lot about Banjo Bros maybe getting their game. But I've thought about it. Instead of bringing Banjo back, what we really need to bring back is Conquer the Squirrel. I would say there isn't anything like it on the market today. There's a ton of platformers out there, rated E, of course. But bring this crude squirrel back. Have a campaign and multiplayer like Conquer Live and Reloaded. Curious on your guys' thoughts on Conquer. No, I never really was a Conquer guy.
No,
not really. Can I see Xbox bringing them back? No. I think there's a better chance you get a Banjo, and I think the chances of getting a Banjo are slim as is. So, yeah, I don't really feel good about them bringing back the squirrel, right?
Yeah, I don't think so either. But there are some devs that I think could do it justice. Like maybe the devs of what was that game called now? The game with the talking knife. Can't remember the name.
High on Life.
High on Life. What if the High on Life devs could make a Conker game. You know, I think that'd be pretty cool.
They probably could. Yeah. Do they want to though? That's a question.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I don't
You'd
think
have to find the dev.
I don't think
That's the issue.
I don't think Banjo fans get their wish this year. Maybe not even next year either. Maybe never. Who knows?
Maybe never. I think Banjo fans will get their wish, but it'll be maybe after Spiral.
We got PB Broking. Hello, lads. Is the new Xbox 2 interview with the developer planned? Second, Jez, do you think to do a podcast with some hardware guys to speak about the new Xbox 720, which feature it needs, and what can we expect? Greetings from Germany.
I think we probably should get a hardware guy on for the next XB2 +1, especially if they do announce these handhelds. So we can talk about the tech and the implications therein. But yeah, what was the other part of the question?
If we have an interview with the developer planned as of right now, no.
No, we don't. I want to do more of those. Obviously, we did the interview with the developers of Towerborn, which was really fun to do. Something haven't really done before. At least not live. So I definitely want to. That is definitely something I want to do more. But as and when I get to do that remains to be seen.
Thank you for the question, People Broking. We're probably doing more of that stuff. You know, we'll probably have more hardware stuff on. You know, whether it's for the handheld, but definitely for like the new console whenever that gets eventually revealed for sure. Yeah. Good old Collinwood says, hello, Rand and Jez. Jez, what's going on? What's going to be at the Future Game Show? Isn't that something you can give the old oil on? And Rand, I see that there is a petition to urge Amazon to greenlight a four-season Wheel of Time. Would you sign it? I mean, I think did I sign it? I signed something, so I think I did. But I'm not... Look, I was expecting the show to get canceled all season, and so I wasn't shocked when it happened. Would I like to see it come back? Sure. Because they were at their best season. But do I expect it will be? No. Yeah, and Jez, what do you know about Future Game Show? What do you know?
Yeah, Future Game Show is our game show. And I say our, but what I really mean is Future Corporate, not Windows Central. You know, so Future Game Show it's mostly an indie kind of show. I think there are some like AA and AAA games there, but it's sort of like an eclectic blend of all kinds of games, all shapes and sizes, all price points, all platforms. A lot of it's going to be Steam, I presume. But yeah, Future Game Show should be quite fun. If you're looking for niche kind of stuff and maybe stuff that might go viral unexpectedly in the next year, it's definitely worth checking out.
Mike says, hi guys, how do you guys review score games? Do you score based on enjoyment of the game, or do you try to be objective about it? I mean, all that factors in how much I enjoy. I mean, enjoyment's obviously a big thing, because if you're bored out of your mind, it can't really be a good game. At least, because I mean, reviews are subjective. They're a completely subjective experience to everybody. Mm-hmm. Just because a game's got a 90 on Metacritic, you could play it and not really like it, right? So there's like, how does the game play? Does the story make sense? Are the characters interesting? Is the gameplay actually feel good? Is the game the right length? And then there's just like, the good old enjoyment. Like, how much did I enjoy this game? And, for me, I have a bunch of different games and a bunch of different, like, score, like, my 10s, my 9s, my 8s, my 8.5s, my 7s, like, where it's like, where would I put it in comparison to these other things? Mm-hmm. And I, like, with Doom the Dark Ages, I was like, well, I think it's a very, very good game. It doesn't do things as well as Doom Eternal does, like storytelling, or even like the level design, in my opinion. So like, I know I gave Doom Eternal a 9 because that's how I felt about it. So for Doom Dark Ages, I was sitting there, I was like, well, I don't think it's a 7, but I don't think it's a 9. And I'm like an 8, and that feels right, but not any higher than that. Like, I don't think it's an 8.5. So there's like a whole bunch of different things for me. I know some people will make up like, oh, this category, this category, this category, you combine them all, and that's the score. But for me, it's like, I played so many games, I have them all kind of in my head about where they are on a scale. And then it's like the objective stuff about each of the game design and all those things, plus like my enjoyment of it, and I narrow it down to like a window of where I think it should be, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
We got 25 minutes.
I know. BHO reviews. Hope all's well. Thanks to Jez's recommendation last week on JRPGs, I got Breath of the Fire 4 on GOG, but was wondering if I needed to know any of the previous installments first before playing. Do you need to know? No? They're all separate?
As far as I know, the Breath of Fire games are kind of like Final Fantasy, where they share some common enemies and things like that, but they are pretty much self-contained stories. At least I think they are. I don't think you need to know. I mean, I definitely can't really. I played Breath of Fire 4. That was my first one, and then I went back and played Breath of Fire 3 afterwards, and I can't remember thinking, "Oh, I really should have played 3 beforehand." And again, I was a little kid at the time. But yeah, Breath of Fire 4 was fantastic. Really great game. Those are games that Capcom should definitely re-release.
And Rand, my son loved the Golden Compass trilogy you suggested to read. He is on Assassin's Apprentice next. Keep it up, guys. Best podcast every week. Well, thank you. And that's awesome that your son loved the his Dark Materials from Philip Pullman, the Golden Compass being, I believe, the first book. I remember reading that when I was younger. I really, really liked it. I need to watch the TV show. Honestly, I need to read the series again because it's been probably 25 plus years. And then I want to watch the TV show they did of it. But Assassin's Apprentice is that whole book series, which is like 13 books, or I forget how many books it is one of my favorites. And hopefully they like it, because it's really well done. Panda Man says, "Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. With the award show upon us, what is your favorite thing they used to do in the past during these shows? I remember two things. Xbox 360, they released demos of games on Xbox Live. And prior to that, I think they used to put demos on the Xbox Magazine CD. Have a good one, guys."
I'm gonna defer to Rand here, and I'll tell you why. I didn't even know E3 existed until the Xbox One era, basically, or the very, very tail end.
I mean, I used to just love seeing all the new games that were going to be coming out. I never been much of a demo guy, so them releasing demos on the 360 never did anything for me. He's talking about the award shows.
Oh, the award shows.
Yeah, he says, with the award shows upon us, what is your favorite thing they used to do in the past? Yeah, I'm not really much of a demo guy, so that still would stand. I just like
award
seeing
shows, like what, the Game Awards?
I would assume that's what because he mentioned demos and stuff. But I mean, I just like seeing the trailers of the new games. To be honest with you, that's really it.
I never really saw Game Award shows before. Again, before the Game Awards.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like a bit out of the loop here. I was very much like a casual kind of gaming fan. I mean, I played a lot of games, but I didn't read news about games. I didn't really buy magazines much, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all that stuff kind of passed me by, sadly.
We got Jada Jagan. We only have like a few minutes left, so we got to get through these fast. Hello again, gents. Different question this week. I've had a back and forth with a friend on the state of the platform, and they've suggested on several occasions that I should just play the games I own, as well as my Game Pass sub. I had bought 3 years in Xmas 2023 and no longer financially support the platform. I've mentioned before I don't play a ton in the wake of Project Latitude, and I do this in part to try to send a message to Microsoft by voting with my wallet and engagement. Is Microsoft still monitoring playtime and sentiment, or is the experiment done in our time to make our positions known ended?
Microsoft's not going to change course. In fact, if you don't spend money on Xbox, they'll probably just take it as a sign that, oh, Xbox is dying, we need to move to PlayStation even harder. I think like this is fully set in stone now, and you know, especially if you start spending your money on other platforms, I mean that doesn't inform Microsoft that they need to try harder with Xbox. That just informs Microsoft they need to push onto other platforms even harder. I think that's really Microsoft's mentality now, for better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, do what you want with your own money, and if you don't want to, if you don't want to support the platform anymore, I mean, don't feel like you're you shouldn't feel like you're obligated to, right?
No,
So
if you don't like what Microsoft's doing, by all means, don't give
yeah,
them money.
but I mean, it's like Jez
That's obvious.
says, the experiment's done. This is like the reality of it, and maybe we even get them being more transparent about everything this showcase and the stuff surrounding the showcase.
Mm.
So, like Jess says, like if playtime and sentiment goes down, what have you, and more people are buying games on their platforms, they'll just go harder on their platforms. So, yeah, that's all. Yeah, I mean, it's your money at the end of the day. Spend it where you want to. If you feel another platform is giving you better bang for your buck, spend it there. Sick
Definitely.
and Tired says, "Hi lads, I was just wondering what your thoughts on this are. Do you think if that Microsoft didn't have the issues they did trying to get ABK over the line, they would have stuck fat with Xbox and exclusives? The irony I see in all this is that the CMA and the FTC gave Microsoft a hard time with the ABK because they wanted to make sure Microsoft didn't take ABK games and make the Xbox exclusives, as they wanted to protect the competition in the console space. Yet their actions might as well have led to the opposite of that, with Xbox going multi-plat and reducing any real competition in the console space." I don't really think the trial taking as long as it did, or the whole thing taking as long as it did, really had any bearing on their decision to go multi-platform. I think it was just, honestly, the money spent and then how the Xbox platform performed during those years that informed their decision. I think it was in like Satya coming in and being like, "We want margins to be this level, and you need to do it." And they're like, "We can't do it on what we currently have, and the only path forward is multi-platform." I mean, that's kind of what happens when you spend $80 billion on something. So
it's all about margins. It's all about maximizing the profitability on the software they've made. And if you're putting up an arbitrary, as far as Microsoft's concerned, arbitrary restriction on where you're making your software available, then you're not making all the margins you can possibly make. The trade-off of that, of course, is that people might go to other platforms, but that ship already sailed when they put Quantum Break on PC. When Microsoft started putting things on PC, that's really what solidified this strategy. It's not PlayStation, in my view.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta go to the platform that you think is giving you the best experience at the end of the day. For me, that's Xbox. It's still Xbox, Game Pass, Play Anywhere, all that shit, cloud saves, love it. So I have no intention of moving to another platform anytime soon. But that could change.
Yeah. Pat Rock says, "What is more likely, State of Decay 1 or 2 being ported to PlayStation before the launch for 3, or State of Decay 3 coming to PlayStation day and date? I feel like PlayStation fans would be less likely to jump in without some previous history. But I'm not sure State of Decay is one of those franchises that you really need to know what happened in the previous one, though. Right?
There is lore, kind of, but it's soft kind of lore,
Yeah,
I would call it.
I don't know. I mean, I am sort of surprised State of Decay 2 hasn't already been ported to PlayStation, to be honest with you. I thought that would be clearly something to like pave the
That's
way
something
to
I would have
3.
I would have ported that instead of I don't know, Pentiment.
I would have ported that instead of Hi-Fi Rush or Pentiment, really. But they may think it's not worth our time to port State of Decay 2, and we'll just do State of Decay 3. I mean, I don't know. Maybe State of Decay 3 is one of those games that could be an incidental exclusive like South of Midnight and Avowed was. So I don't know how big Undead Labs is. So, but I don't really think State of Decay 3 is one of those games where it's like Gears 5, where you need to have played the previous Gears games to understand what's really going on, or like the Halo games. So I think you could probably easily jump in and enjoy yourself.
Agree.
Omen says, "So the Switch 2 released, and I couldn't help but notice that the Xbox Series X was almost as hard to get as the Switch 2. Don't you think this is a huge fumble by Microsoft? Imagine some people probably want to buy alternative consoles after trying and failing to buy the Switch 2.
It's hard to say. I mean, Microsoft determines their stock levels based on, I don't know, what their perception of demand is. And I still think the availability of the silicon is partially being cannibalized by the cloud to some degree, maybe. But that's why they need to move to PC, more traditional PC-based cloud servers as soon as possible, probably. Who knows? Maybe the stock situation with Xbox hardware abates when they do move to PC cloud servers. By that time, we'll probably be talking about the Xbox Series X2 anyway.
I'm also not sure that anybody who's looking for the Switch 2 and couldn't get one would suddenly then decide to, I'll get an Xbox then. You know what I mean?
I think the only sales event in the near term that Microsoft really needs to think about stock levels. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I mean, you have Nintendo fans that go out to buy these Nintendo systems. I don't really think it's like, oh, I couldn't get a Switch 2, so now I want to get an Xbox for Halo. I think those people, like, it's the Switch 2 or nothing. Now, you can make an argument about, like, the stock levels and stuff, or are they, where they should be at. But Microsoft is probably controlling them because they probably don't want to lose that much money, or they're just like, well, we're just going to keep these. Retailers probably aren't ordering that many, so we'll just keep them as low as we can. But I really don't think there's somebody out there who's like, didn't get my Switch 2, so now I'm going to get an Xbox. I mean, maybe there's one or two, but I don't really think that's really a thing, personally. But I think it would more be for PlayStation. Like if it was PlayStation launching a new console, because I think those consoles are so similar and the audiences are very similar. Well, I'm not sure that's the same for the Switch 2. Yeah. We got Super Chat. We got Just James. When's the video show, Rand? I saw Jez. One day in the future. Blue says, what PlayStation fanboy would you rather interview? Jim Ryan, Chad Warren, or ex-CEO Kaz Hirai parody account, or someone else? I'm going Jim Ryan. Absolutely. I want to interview Jim. But why? I don't know, man. I think I could get a good interview out of Jim. If like Silas says, if I can't have Phil Spencer or whatever, give me Jim Ryan. I want the dirt, man. He said he's gonna be 100% truthful. I want the dirt. You
want the dirt.
Yeah. I want to know if he ever heard our podcast where I called him lying, flying. How did that make you feel? Have you ever heard that stuff? You know what I mean? Yeah, I want that stuff to happen. So
that's fun.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We got Jeff Keighley's show here in 12 minutes. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the new cool stuff. Hopefully we get Resident Evil 9. And excited to see what Xbox has in store for us on Sunday. And with that said, I think I might stream the showcase on Sunday, so be aware of that. Probably, nice. I probably will, because we get live reactions and stuff. Me and Jez will be live on Monday afternoon, an hour earlier than normal, so we can do our regular podcast. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, and then I think we'll also do a show on Friday next week, maybe with some guests. Line up some Xbox 2+1 guests.
That'll be an aftermath, yeah.
So look out for that.
It's a week.
So with that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/XB2 to support us, and our sponsor, Surfshark, 86% off. 2-year deal. Helps us out, supports the show. And then checks out Jez's little blog he's about to do here. Live blog in the Jeff Keighley show. So
yep. On windowscentral.com.
Yeah. With that said, I hope everybody enjoys the show, enjoys their weekend. I guess I'll see some of you on Sunday and then the rest of you on Monday.
Yeah.
Later, guys. Keep it gaming.
Take care, everybody.